You're live.
I'd like to call the regular meeting of March 27th to order at 1:01. And I'd like to start with land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the town of Winnipeg Beach is located on First Nations Treaty 1 territory, the traditional territory and ancestral lands, the Anishinaabe, the Cree, the Oji-Cree, the Dakota, and the Dene people, and is the homeland of the Métis Nation. We respect the treaties made on these territories. We dedicate ourselves to move forward with Indigenous communities in a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration to make Manitoba an inclusive and accessible place for everyone who lives here.
Be it resolved, the agenda for the March 27th, 2024 regular meeting of council be approved as presented.
Mover, please. Councillor Jarvis. Seconder, please. Councillor Cooley. All in favor? Carried.
Be it hereby resolved that the minutes of the March 11th, 2024 special meeting, the March 13th, 2024 regular meeting, and the March 19th, 2024 special meeting be approved as circulated.
I get a mover, please. Councillor Jarvis. I get a seconder, please. Councillor Kozlowski. I trust everybody's had an opportunity to read the minutes of all the meetings. Any questions, comments, or points of discussion? All in favor? Carried.
Be it hereby resolved that council approves the accounts payable listing being check number 22649 to 22689, inclusive of checks, electronic payments, and payroll issued in the amount of $82,179 as circulated.
I get a mover, please. Councillor Gendron. Can I get a seconder, please? Councillor Jarvis. I trust everybody's had an opportunity to look at the accounts payable. Any questions, comments, or points of discussion? Councillor Gendron.
Yeah, I just wanted to, in case anyone was wondering, check number 22687 to Cyber Scout for the digital investigation. We had a check issued to them a few months ago that a question was raised on. The CEO advised that was for the deductible on our insurance policy. This check is because our insurance company paid us directly for the investigation, so then we've already received that payment. So this is just the payment going back to them rather than the insurance company paying them directly.
Thank you for that clarification. Any other questions, comments, points of discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried.
Be it resolved that council approve the February 2024 financial statement as provided.
Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Jarvis. Can I get a seconder, please? Councillor Houle. I trust everybody's had an opportunity to look at the financial statements. Questions, comments, points of discussion?
Oh, no, sorry.
Okay, all in favor? Carried.
Be it resolved that council for the town of Winnipeg Beach hereby give first reading to solid waste bylaw number 01-2024.
Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Kozlowski. Can I get a seconder, please? Councillor Jarvis. We've had an opportunity to talk about this over the past month or two. And for folks who don't know, we have accepted the tender of garbage disposal company that would change our residential pickup to Tuesdays once a week and compost pickup on Wednesdays once a week. There seems to be some confusion for folks in terms of this, not necessarily people at the table, but people out in the community. So I just want to reiterate that we are doing this because it is saving our taxpayers around $35,000 a year to go to garbage pickup once a week. It does not increase our costs by having recycle pickup on Wednesday, because that's what's always happened. Recycle has always been dealt with on the Wednesday, although sometimes it was picked up from people's homes, it was stashed in other places, and then removed on Wednesday. So this isn't a change from what's always happened, except that we are only having garbage pickup once a week, and that is saving taxpayers $35,000. With that clarification, is there any other questions, comments, or points of discussion about this bylaw, Councillor Gendron?
Yeah, I did receive an email from an individual just indicating that we do have a spot on our website where it explains garbage pickup, and so if that could be updated by April 1st when the change is effective, that would be great.
Okay. And I also want to speak to people being worried about the pickup happening on Tuesdays as opposed to Mondays. We are doing it that way because there are a lot of long weekends, especially during the summer, and people are getting their garbage out on the Sundays of long weekends, and then the long weekend garbage is sitting there from the Monday until the following Monday when we have pickup, or the following Friday. I understand that some people are saying they're worried about, pests getting into garbage. I like to remind people that your garbage goes into garbage bags, which then have to go into a container that has a lid, a secure lid, and then you won't have any problems with rodents in town. Councillor Gendron.
Yeah, just further clarification for people on something you had mentioned. Yes, while you were getting your garbage picked up and your recycling picked up on the same day from your home, I'm sure most people saw those rather unsightly piles of blue bags. That was nothing on the company that was doing it. In order for us to get our rebate, the recycling has to go to the city, and they were unable to, as I'm sure most businesses would be, unable to collect the garbage, collect the recycling, and get into the city in time before the depot closed, which is why we've looked at going to the 2-day pickup, so that the day the recycling is being picked up, they're able to get it out of the community and to the depot so that we get our rebate.
Thank you for that clarification, Councillor Gendron. Any other questions, comments, or points of discussion about this? All in favor? Carried.
Be it resolved that Council for the Town of Winnipeg Beach hereby gives second reading to Solid Waste Bylaw 01-2024.
Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Jarvis. Councillor, get a seconder, please. Councillor Hu. Further discussion? All in favor? Carried.
Be it resolved that Council for the Town of Winnipeg Beach hereby give first reading to Sidewalk Patio Bylaw number 02-2024.
I'm just trying to open this. Computer's not complete. Mover, please. Councillor Jarvis. Seconder, please. Councillor Kozlowski. Discussion. Just to let people know that I believe the only change is the definition of sidewalk patio and hours, being that anybody who has a patio that's licensed by the town has to be closed by 11 o'clock p.m.
I believe there was also the elimination of the not being able to apply before a certain date. That's
Correct.
Just, yeah, that's
Right,
been
that was
removed.
eliminated.
Yeah,
You can
that's
apply
been
whenever you want to
You
apply.
can apply whenever they want to apply.
Discussion? All in favor? Carried.
Be it resolved that Council for the Town of Winnipeg Beach hereby gives second reading to Sidewalk Patio Bylaw number 02-2024.
You can mover, please. Councillor Jarvis. And seconder, please. Councillor Gendron. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried.
Be it hereby resolved that Council for the Town of Winnipeg Beach hereby give first reading to Indemnity Bylaw number 03-2024.
Take a mover, please. Councillor Jarvis. A seconder, please. Councillor Gendron. Discussion. Just want to bring to people's attention that given that the raises for our staff and, well, all of our staff and administration is CPI, Canadian Consumer Price Index, we have decided to apply the same to council indemnity so that there can be an ongoing slow increase as opposed to leaving the indemnities the way they are for 10, 15 years and then having to do a big increase. And that's the reason for this bylaw before us today. Any questions, comments, or points of discussion? Councillor General.
Yes, and I'm sorry, Sharon, if I should have gotten this into you before. My first year on council, I was working, and meetings during the day required me to take vacation leave. I was in a fortunate position that I had plenty of it. Not everybody is in that same position, and quite frankly, shouldn't need to be using up holiday time to come to council meetings. I would actually like to see, in addition to the indemnity bylaw, indicating that any member of council that is required to meet, to attend meetings during the day, that they be, and are required to take time off work without pay, will be reimbursed at their gross salary rate for the hours that they attend the meeting, and including travel time. We need to be doing things to encourage people to continue to run for public office, not putting up barriers to limit who's running.
Can I get some discussion around that?
No, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it sounds like a good idea. This was discussed before.
Previously.
Yeah.
So you're suggesting that the pay be their gross pay?
Yeah, so right now, our indemnity covers our attendance at council meetings. But there's meetings that's like, we had a need to move these meetings to the daytime. There are other things that require council to attend during the day. What I am suggesting that is, if an individual member of council needs to take time off work without pay from that employer, that they get reimbursed at whatever wage they're losing to be attending the meeting. Becoming a member of council should not
Cost.
it should not be costing people their wages.
Fair point. Never thought of that. What I'm just getting stuck on is, so if I'm taking a day off without pay and I'm getting paid $20 an hour, and Councillor Kozlowski's taking a day off without pay, and at his job he's getting $50 an hour, then we're getting paid two very different rates to be here.
You're getting paid what you're losing out on
Okay,
On top of
your regular indemnity.
Okay.
Difference.
okay, fair enough. Further discussion about this?
I'm in favor of it.
So how do we do that in terms of,
So we would give first reading to this bylaw. That's why there's only one reading for this, in case there was any level of amendment.
okay.
And CEO will amend bylaw and have second and third reading at the next regular meeting of council.
Okay, thank you.
And since I'm the one that raised it, if there's any wrath from the public, you are more than welcome to direct it at me.
That's okay, I'm sure I can handle it.
I'm very sure that you could. So do we still pass this first?
Correct.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried.
Unfinished business 8.1, pilot project food cart vendors. Administration requires further direction of council.
Okay. So folks, we did a pilot project with allowing a food cart at the market. We allowed one for the season last year and decided to do it as a pilot project to see if we got any kind of complaints or positive response from people. We heard nothing. So what are we wanting to do going forward? Any thoughts? Councillor Jarvis.
Is the suggestion that we add more than one, or we just continue it?
No, this is for council to discuss. We had a large discussion about this last year in terms of food carts, and we had decided to do a pilot project of the one food cart last year, and we had directed our CAO to bring it back to council this spring, so we could have further discussion on what we want to do with it. If there aren't any, we can decide the food cart if the market approaches us to put a food cart there again, we can decide to say yes, we can decide to say no, we can decide to change the whole food cart policy in the beach.
Well, I understand that, but I think the original conversation was they wanted more than one food cart. And then I said, there's parameters involved with this.
Yes.
If you have multiple food carts, and we'll probably get into it later with the Department of Health from Manitoba, is that when you add more than one, as you add more, there becomes more criteria involved.
Yes.
Okay, now the one thing that and I'm not, hey, put a food cart there, but I want to make sure again that they have their permit to operate, they have their permit from a medical officer, they have their food handlers, on and on and on.
Yeah, that's all part of the food cart.
But who is monitoring that? Do we, or do they just put a food cart in there, we assume that they've got all these things? Do we not have anybody that goes around and says, this is the food cart? And can I see their Manitoba Health certificate? Can I see their permit to operate?
Well, I would imagine that when they came here to apply for a permit, they'd have to bring all that documentation with them.
Did that happen? Sure.
For the pilot project?
Yes.
That did happen as outlined in the pilot project.
Okay, and everything according to the regulations took place?
So that particular food cart had been in accordance with all regulations that were required.
So are we gonna have the same? Then I have
That's
no
the
problem.
question
If that's what
before
they're
us.
gonna do, I have no problem with it.
That's the question before
Right.
us.
But
Are
see,
you just allowing that one that's what's up for council discussion? We're
okay, I don't
discussing.
have a problem with multiple food carts. I never have. I just wanna make sure they have all of the regulations in place. And if they're doing that, fine.
Okay. Councillor, no?
Yeah.
Councillor Gendron?
Yeah, so if my memory serves me correctly, we had said we were going to do it, see how it went, and if it went well, we were gonna have a discussion on other possible locations. So, is that, we should probably be having that discussion now, if everybody
Okay.
is in favor of how well it went. There were no complaints as outlined in the report from the CAO. There was no infractions on their part. They followed everything. So based on the report that was attached, it was a success. So now our next discussion is, do we want other food cart locations?
Okay. What do people think of that? Councillor Kozlowski?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I've always been in favor of the food carts. I was also in favor of the DKD guy going down the boardwalk, selling ice cream and that when it's hot out, and all the kids purchasing it, and that was done years and years ago. And they did quite the business, and it was great for the people, the tourists that were here, to get something cool and go sit by the water and suntan, etc. So I'm all for the food carts, and like I said, I think it was great that she also wanted another food cart last year, and we told her no, there was only the one on this agenda. So now we can expand it and put it throughout the town.
So I just want to remind folks that we heard very, very strongly from our business community in terms of the restaurants and the ice cream place, that they're trying to keep their businesses open 12 months a year and making their money 3 months a year. And they had unilaterally suggested that if we wanted to have food carts, that we have them after the restaurants were closed. I think people were concerned about there being no restaurants open after 8 o'clock at night. And I think people were concerned about there being no restaurants open on Mondays. Are we wanting to limit the food carts, or are we wanting to say as many food carts as wants to come in can come in? Councillor Hall?
No, I think they should be limited. I mean, and placement, of course, after bandstands, that was one of the biggest complaints about people not being able to get food. So I see no problem with having a food cart at the bandstand when everybody else is closed. I don't want to have major competition between our restaurants and food carts that come in.
Mhm.
You know, I want to see the restaurants succeed.
Mhm.
So, you know, maybe it's just a little bit more thought on where we place them
Mhm.
and at what time.
Okay, so what's the suggestion in terms of when and where we do this?
Well, again, if, you know, if most restaurants or all the restaurants are closed by 8 p.m., then I would say they could start at 8 p.m. and finish and go until the bandstand's over or whenever they decide business slows down.
Okay.
You could have an overlap of 15 minutes or something, I don't know,
Right.
but, you know, I'm looking at something like that.
So you're suggesting that maybe we have food carts, if we have a bandstand every Saturday night, having food carts allowed from 7 until 11 Saturday evenings.
Yeah, basically.
Other suggestions on the table? Councillor Kozlowski?
Yeah, I know that the restaurants are pretty busy in the summertime, especially the ice cream place. There's a line up there half a block long. And a lot of people don't want to go stand in line for, you know, for that amount of time. Whereas Johnny's also is very, very busy. And I think it would just maybe, I don't know if it would take business away from them or just supply our tourists, our people with another way of having what they want to eat, sort of in a hurry and not waiting in line. You know, I understand that it might take a little business away from these, you know, from the businesses.
So are you agreeing with Councillor Cool that we should have food carts from 7 until 11 at night, or are you suggesting something different?
The restaurants are open till 8:30, 9 o'clock. I know that for a fact. Johnny's is usually open till 9. The ice cream place usually probably till 9.
Okay. So what are you
So-
suggesting in terms of the food
Well-
carts?
I'm suggesting that the food carts should be allowed, maybe a couple downtown area, one in the beach area for sure, during the daytime. You know, whether it be ice cream or burgers or whatever, and let them go.
Councillor Gendron?
Are we the ones with the authority to determine whether food carts can be on the beach, or is that the province?
That would be the problem.
Okay, so that's not even we can ask, but it's not our call.
We're going to have a food cart, sorry to interrupt, but we're going to have a food cart, as Councillor Cool was suggesting, around the bandstand. That would have to be more on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Where we are
Yeah,
as
just-
opposed to.
Accessible, what do you think, accessible to the people, so at that end of the, not down at the other end. Doesn't necessarily have to be on that side of the street.
Well, again, I guess it would have to be on town property if the province has to delegate whether, you know, we'd have to have rules in place.
Yeah, and then it's our bylaw.
Yeah.
Affecting it. I don't agree with food carts all day long. A little bit of an overlap between the two. But an evening thing, we already, on times like boardwalk days and things, we have food carts when there's other things going on in order to supplement so that people can get food. Our businesses are only so big and can only keep up so much when there's that large influx on things like boardwalk days. Yeah, I think just evenings on bandstand, because that's where I guess most of the concern that has been raised is people can't get food when we have bands. And yeah, 7 o'clock, I mean, we don't have a concrete commitment from all of the businesses as to what time they close. I think we all recognize that they don't necessarily have set closing hours. In some cases, restaurants been closing because they ran out of food. And so they can't last. So if we have a set time of like 7 till 11, I noticed that, and it's further on in the agenda, but the band agreement that Peter has put together states a specific time. So it would be more clear to us what time the band would be playing till, what time the band is there till. again, I think this phase 2 should also be done on a pilot basis, not a permanent commitment, to see how it goes, what feedback we get on it. So similar to what we had done the first time, and that we limit it to a manageable number of maybe 2. Just manageable from being able to get good feedback, things like that, and being able to manage the pilot. And then the pilot was a success as far as what happened at Ruby's Paradise. If she finds the need for a second food cart on where her market is, I certainly wouldn't object to it based on how well the pilot went. So I think we should perhaps have the CAO have some discussion with her on that. What expansion is she looking for expansion?
Okay.
Or just even advising that we would be willing to allow 2 food carts in there?
So how about if we do this? We had a pilot project last year with 1 food cart at the market to see how it goes. Council can make a decision that we would be open to a second one there if she were to approach us. I don't think the CAO has to approach her. If she were to approach us, then the CAO can come back here for clarification. However, I think that maybe the second year we should look at doing the pilot project down here, and either 1 or 2 food carts Saturday evenings from 7 until 11, and let's see how that goes. And then this time next year, we can bring this forward to council again and do a review. I would certainly encourage any residents or business owners who have any feedback for us throughout the year in terms of how that's going, or throughout the summer in terms of how that's going. We would certainly be open to hearing the feedback, and then we can make a decision next year in terms of a go-forward plan. But let's do this in a slow way, as opposed to saying, well, 1 food cart went well, and so let's just open up the whole town for food carts. I'm not comfortable with that at all. What do people think of that? So another pilot project, do you want to do,
So there are several questions that the CAO requires answers to. So in the first pilot project, there were no fees associated with running that food cart. Unlike other places, there can be a set fee in order for anyone to have a food cart. If we're limiting to 2 food carts, what is the criterion? Is it first come, first serve, or what is the determining factor of selecting the applicants or the successful applicants for them? Where are the specific locations that will be permitted for these carts?
I would like to suggest that we have a max of 2, and maybe 1 at this end, on the other side of the street on the town property by the sidewalk, and another one on that end. Probably
like on Main Street?
On Main Street, by the boardwalk entrance over here, and then down here by the garbage can. Oh no, that doesn't sound very good, but right around that area. That also means that our public works are going to have to get another garbage can out on this end. I'd like to suggest that we do have fees attached, because if the food carts do a good business, they're going to be making some decent money. And I think that there should be a license fee. And this is just my opinion, and when I finish talking, you guys can give me your opinions. And I wonder whether we should do a first come, first serve to see, I don't know. I'm not sure on that one, so I'm not sure yet. I'd like to hear from other people about that. Councillor Houle and then Councillor Jensen.
Is there any way we can do a selection based on businesses that don't conflict with our current businesses?
I was just thinking about that. That's a good idea. Oh, food that doesn't conflict. So it wouldn't necessarily be hot dogs, hamburgers, and ice cream, because we've got lots of places who allow hot dogs, hamburgers, and ice cream.
Again, I don't know what kind of food vendors are out there, but...
Yeah, or pizza, or,
Pizza,
so...
pierogies, gyros.
Yeah, it could be gyros, it could be pierogies, it could be shawarma, it could be...
Okay, so non-compete?
Non-compete.
So heading back to the food cart in the pilot, we were approached by the people who run the farmer's market. So they selected, and so we're asking for permission to have food carts in the farmer's market because our town bylaw said no food carts.
That's correct.
So are we wanting to dictate who can have a food cart in the farmer's market? Or are we just letting the farmer's market know that they have to be licensed under the town bylaw, but they can select their own food carts?
Thoughts?
So am I hearing that we're extending the pilot project 1 into phase 2 and permitting the food cart also at the farmer's market?
Well, that's where.
Because right now, there's no legislation. It was a pilot project that permitted a food cart at that specific location.
Right.
So there is no current, in 2024, there is no current legislation that just permits a food cart at that location, unless the food, as per the bylaw, business bylaw, that the owner of the food cart also has an established restaurant in town.
Right.
So that pilot project has been conducted. You were looking at phase 2 by permitting 2 downtown.
Yes.
Are you extending the pilot project number 1 from pilot project number 1 into pilot project number 2 as well?
Or are we deeming that the pilot project was a success and therefore we will allow food carts?
Then we have to change, there has to be some legislation because you have a bylaw that contradicts that.
Right.
That's right. Councillor Jarvis?
Did the food cart, last year, in the pilot project, they had to get a business license in the town?
That's correct.
Yes.
And seeing how it's on private property, I don't care, like, if whoever owns the farmer's market wants to have, say, 6. I don't have, as long as they're buying a business license in the town, and they follow the established criteria set out, even including proper sanitation and refuse collection and so on and so forth, let her have at it. If she wants to have 4 or 5 of them.
But our current bylaw does
They
not
changed the
allow
bylaw.
that. So hence, this is a
Yeah,
council decision.
but that's a separate issue from downtown, and I think that's what you're driving at.
No,
Correct.
it's not. No, we're talking about a food cart.
Well, the pilot project is separate over there than it is from
The
downtown.
pilot project is now over. The pilot project, we were collecting information. It's finished, it's done. So now we go back to what our bylaw says, which is no food carts. If we're wanting to change that, then that's going to include Ruby's Paradise.
Then why would it include Ruby's Paradise? Isn't the bylaw say downtown? Is she considered downtown?
No, I don't believe.
Because she's
it.
on the highway, Highway 9. Access to that farmer's market is off Highway 9.
Okay, Councillor Jandra.
Okay, I'm understanding that we're now moving to phase 2 of the pilot project, is my understanding. And phase 2 is now downtown.
And but we also have to decide what we're doing with phase 1. Is it done and done?
Okay. So phase 1 is done, but as a part of phase 2, do we now want to say we will also allow them to have a second and I'm not saying this because this is what I want, I'm just saying it to explain what we need to do. Do we now want to say on phase 2, you are allowed up to 3 carts, and again, we will review it at the end of phase 2, at which point in time at the end of phase 2, we look at changing our bylaws based on the success or not success of phase 2 of the pilot project.
Councillor Jarvis.
So shouldn't the farmer's market be a separate issue entirely? Because she would also have to have a business license. So you have a license inside a license. If I want to move a food cart into the farmer's market, I need a license to be able to be in town, as does the owner of the farmer's market need a license. Both of us need to provide insurance and liability insurance and so on and so forth. So for us, when we start allowing something on public streets, public sidewalks, town property, that's a whole different issue than private property. So can't we separate the two?
So what would your suggestion be, that we separate the
That
two
we
to
deal
see
with the
what?
farmer's market first, and in the same breath, make the food carts for downtown. I don't think that they're similar at all. The only thing that makes them similar is that they're a food cart.
Okay.
But the demographics of where they are is completely separate.
Yes,
Like down here, if you use a food cart, you have access to public washrooms. Over there, you have none. So if you're on Murray and you need to go to the washroom, you have a washroom there.
so what's your suggestion that we do with Ruby's?
That I allow Ruby, providing that all of the Ts are crossed and the Is are dotted, and all the permits are in place, and all the licenses are in place, and all the inspections have been done. She wants to have 6 of them, let her have it, and then let's deal with downtown as a completely separate issue.
Councillor Kozlowski?
Yeah, I think she did, came to the table before that, she did want a second food cart there. And we told her no, because this was a pilot project and you're only allowed one. But she did want another one there, so it was obviously a good business for her. And
She
whether,
didn't want it here, she wanted it at the golf course.
well, yeah, that's right, whatever, but she wanted another one there. I don't care, again, if she has 3 or 4 or whatever, she's nowhere near any of the businesses. These are people over there that are shooting ball and doing whatever, so.
Councillor Gendron?
Yeah, I just want to clarify, there are washrooms at the farmer's market. They have porta potties there, so there are washroom facilities there. Yeah.
As you add more though, the washrooms, the number of toilets have to increase. Table 1 here indicates that.
Yeah.
If you expect 101 to 200 people, you need 6 toilets.
Yeah, I understand
So
that.
if we increase to 6 food carts, she might have 1 or 2, but that may not be enough.
Okay, Councillor Gendron?
Yeah, so I'm just thinking, we made sure when we did the pilot that everything was included as far as licensing. I'm just wondering if we could, that should be a given, and we can deal with that after we make some decisions on what are we gonna do at Ruby's, what are we gonna do at downtown as far as numbers, and then there's all of the other things that will fall underneath as far as licensing and requirements for the health department that they will have to bring us proof of when they, so really we need to decide what are we gonna let her do there and what do we wanna do downtown.
Okay. So, I'm not sure that I want to be able to say, I'm not sure I want to say at Ruby's, if she wants to have a dozen in there, I don't care, have a dozen, but I'm not sure I want to open the door that quickly. How about if we say a maximum of 2 or 3 there and a maximum of 2 here?
So the current bylaw, that's in reference to 2015, the business licenses state, aside from your special events, if the owner-operator of a mobile food vending unit also owns or leases an existing and properly licensed food service establishment, and the mobile food vending unit is located on the same or adjacent property as the existing food service establishment. So right now, that is the only provisions that permit a food vendor. And so council should not just allow at a specific property unless it's identified in the bylaw. But I caution that either if you are allowing food carts, then this bylaw has to be amended. It was a pilot project for that location. If council wants to move forward to permit food carts at that location or other private location, that needs to be addressed. If you want to attach a map showing the permitted areas to only identify that location, that is council's choice. But we cannot just say, go ahead when the bylaw is stating something opposite of that.
Let me clarify. She doesn't have a licensed food establishment.
Correct.
And so, however, we said she could have a food cart. If we are saying she can have a food cart on her private property without having a licensed food establishment, that also means anybody else who owns property in Winnipeg Beach can say, well, then I want a food cart in my front yard. Because I don't have a licensed food establishment, but it's my private property, so I want a food cart in my front yard. That's what we're opening the door to. So we have to be very clear about this. And if that's what you want to do, I mean, that's a whole other discussion. But I certainly would not be in favor of anybody who wants to open a food cart in the front yard, because then we go to circus. So if we don't want that, then we have to be very clear about what we're doing there and why we're doing it. Comments? Councillor General.
So I know, clearly we need to do something with the bylaw. Can we allow a maximum of 2 food carts within a farmer's market area?
So then I'm just playing devil's advocate. So what stops me from, if I own that house across the street, say, put up a few things for sale in my front yard and saying this is a farmer's market?
No, that's a garage sale, and if the farmer's market it's licensed, isn't it?
I don't have that information handy.
It's not?
I don't have that information.
No, sorry, I'm sorry, I was talking to Mayor Jackson, she was shaking her
I don't
head.
think it is, but
No.
I could be wrong. So we could, as an exception, I'm making this up now, Sharon. I'm thinking that we could, as an exception, name that property as an exception to the bylaw,
No, it's part of the bylaw.
as part of the bylaw. Can we say,
Oh,
no?
The CAO would caution council showing
Yeah.
preferential treatment
Yeah.
to one property owner over the next without.
Yeah,
okay, so we have all been exposed to the long-range plans, and she has spoken on social media about her intent to be opening up an ice cream shop. The pilot was successful, however, until that food establishment is opened, she's not able to have food carts on the property. And then it's not just somebody with a piece of land who wants to put a food cart on it.
Yeah.
Like it makes so much more sense now as to why what is there. Thank you, Sharon. Yeah, and once she has that next phase of her business up and running, then she would be covered under the bylaw to be able to have food carts.
Other thoughts?
So what we're saying is that there should be no food carts whatsoever.
No, what the bylaw says is that,
I understand the bylaw, but she has no other food service establishments, so ergo,
that's right.
she shouldn't have any, and that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
I said,
That's right,
so what we're talking about now is downtown only.
that's right.
And if you have a food cart, according to the bylaw, you can only have a food cart if it's an extension of an existing business?
Correct, but if we're
Correct.
running a pilot project, it allows council.
So we would have to establish a second pilot project, a separate one downtown.
That's correct. So in that,
Right.
that would be.
At the same time that
called-
the other pilot project is now finished, completed. Never to happen again unless we change the zoning.
Or change the bylaw.
Change the
zoning.
bylaw. This would be the bylaw.
So we would have to establish another pilot project strictly for food carts downtown. I just want to make sure I'm clear.
Correct. We can't use the pilot project one. There would definitely be similarities in reference to the requirements. Pilot project 2 would be more in-depth, which would identify the locations, the parameters of choosing the food carts. There would be, there has to be additional information provided in that particular pilot project.
That's correct.
Right, because it was already identified, the request came from a property owner. This request with downtown is not coming on behalf of a property owner. So pilot project number 1 was geared to that specific location as per the request of the property owner.
Thank you.
So what you're saying, it would be easier to go with the pilot project number 2 rather than changing the bylaw? To get around?
No,
No.
that's not what I'm saying.
No, I'm
saying
just saying, would that be more feasible
No.
to make a pilot project number 2? Rather than change that bylaw?
you can do either. You
Yeah.
can either change the bylaw, which would then
What's the
require-
easier of the two?
There is,
Go ahead with the
there's
pilot project?
no easier.
Yeah, it's not a question of easier, it is a question of, you don't wanna be changing a bylaw and then find out that it wasn't effective change. By doing the pilot project, we're gonna determine, is it feasible to have food carts downtown? If it is feasible, then you change your bylaw. If it's not feasible, then you just leave your bylaw as status quo. But if we go ahead and change the bylaw and open it up to food carts downtown based on the bylaw, and it's not successful, we'd have a challenge on our hand by people saying, well, your bylaw says I can, so I am.
So we're not calling it a pilot project trying to make it easier. We're actually doing a pilot project to see if it actually works.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, what are some of the problems with it? Or what are some of the problems that we never thought about that happen so that we can incorporate those difficulties into the bylaw next year? So doing the pilot project is basically gathering information and doing it in a small scale so we can see what are the bonuses, what are the problems, what do we have to pay attention to, so that this time next year we can actually have a full discussion about, you know, how did it work, how didn't it work, and do we want to change the bylaw? As opposed to just changing the bylaw and not having a clue how it's going to float out. So I would suggest that we do the pilot project 2 downtown, maximum of 2 food carts, one at one end, one at the other end on town property, that we restrict no competition, and that we have some kind of license fee attached to it. What do other people think?
Yep.
Do we have a suggestion in terms of the fee attached to it? I don't know what the going rate is. I don't know what people pay for other communities, municipalities, or cities. Well, we can't be charging the same thing as the city of Winnipeg because, you know, we're not the city of Winnipeg, but.
And so to clarify, but I'm also understanding there was a time restriction, and it
Yes.
has the time 11 or 7 to 11.
7 to 11
Is
on
that the
Saturday
consensus
nights.
of council?
7 to 11 on Saturday nights.
Saturday nights?
Councilor Gendron, do you have something to say?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
We don't want consideration of Friday nights as well?
Do we have? I'm trying to remember, are there plans for bandstand activities on Friday evenings?
There's still work in progress.
So that's still work in progress.
Aren't they trying something for Sunday afternoons too?
It's work in progress, nothing's been solidified. I don't have firm commitments.
Not a bad idea.
Friday?
So what do we want to do? Friday evening 7 to 11, Saturday evening 7 to 11, and Sunday afternoon from 12 until?
I don't know if we want to do the afternoon. We were saying we were trying to just overlap a little with the restaurants. Although I guess if we're doing the non-compete, I personally would like to leave Sunday alone, unless we do this 7 to 11. I just think Sunday afternoons
And
are.
it is a pilot project, just to sort of see how things go.
Yeah.
Okay. How do people feel about that? Friday and Saturday, 7 to 11? Okay.
Good.
Leave Sunday alone?
Aside from non-compete, it then becomes first come, first serve.
Correct.
Correct.
And fee associated.
I'm not sure where I'm looking at you, Councillor Jarvis. Do you have information about what average fees are for food carts?
I have no idea what the average one would be, but I do know that it should be substantial because of just the concept of bricks and mortar, what it would cost for just the insurance factor, the fire suppression systems, all that. So, I mean, in the past, I've heard bounced around not through the actual business community, but things like $75, but that's like chump change, you know, like you need like $500 for somebody, and maybe more, for them to show up. Oh, easily.
$500 a day?
To do, if, say for the weekend, you wanna come in on a Friday and a Saturday, then it should be substantial, so.
Councillor Jennifer?
Yeah, we didn't have a fee associated with phase one of the pilot project. One of the things we learned from it is we should be charging some sort of fee, but I'm not sure if we should be looking at our end result fee. We don't know what the uptake's gonna be. We want to at least be able to attract individuals so that we are going to determine whether or not it's feasible. $500 for the season per cart, perhaps. $1,000 for the season, and determine what the season is. But I think we need to. Those numbers may very well be realistic once we have some data to fall back on as far as how it went for the first season.
So are we assuming it's going to be the same food carts every week?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Are they there all summer, or can we get different ones in there every
Well,
week?
some of these carts go to different festivals.
Yeah.
So when you have something on the other side of the lake, you know, Battle of the Bands or something, like some of these guys, well, it's easier for, you know, so they're that's the concept of mobile.
Yeah.
So you might not get the same one, you might, because he said, well, I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna be at Folk Fest, and then I'm gonna be at Dauphin Country Fest, and.
Yeah, and if there's a bigger population,
Yeah.
naturally, they'll be gone.
Well, they go, see, the concept and why, there's nothing wrong with a $500 fee. Because the town provides them with an opportunity, an environment for them to make money. And if they don't think they make enough money, then they go to a smaller market. Somebody that has a good product will go, like you can put a restaurant in the Unicity Mall, but if you get one in Polo Park, you're gonna do way better. So example being, you know, we have a 3,000 person draw every Saturday. You can charge what you want.
So how about we say $200 a day? $100 a day?
I concur. If we're looking at a continual circle of who's where at what time, that is gonna be administratively burdensome
Yeah.
to ensure that who's got their license, who's permitted to be there at what time and going through there. That initially, it was my understanding as well that we would select 2 carts that have staked claim for this pilot project, and that it is not a continuum.
Okay.
I mean, once food carts are permitted and the bylaw is changed, it is not up to administration at that point to keep tabs under a pilot project as to what's happening, and it also convolutes. There may be one vendor that is an issue, not the food cart that's the issue. And so by having a lot of variables at that time makes it a lot more challenging to look at from a pilot project perspective.
Okay. So, let's say that we then ask, go for the same food carts every week and not have the rotation and come up with the seasonal costs. Does that make sense? Councillor Jarvis?
Yeah, I think we should advertise on our website. Like this whole concept of food carts, this is huge. So you could put it out there. An example being, you could list what your fee was gonna be, where you wanted to put them. Even for the food, there are forms that they could fill out in advance and submit to us, and that would take the paperwork out of the equation. Like we don't even deal, if you don't have your stuff in by this date, we don't even deal with it. And that way you're gonna call it, selection. But if they don't have their information in there, if it isn't submitted to our town and we don't have all of their permits in place, we don't even want to talk to them.
Yeah.
And then, and you might get a rotating, because again, this industry out there is massive. They make TV shows out of this, and these guys, they will go where the money goes. You know what I mean? And the really good players make a truckload of cash.
Yes.
And 500 bones or 250 or whatever is nothing to these guys.
Yeah.
They want to know what you're going to do for them.
Yeah, I understand that.
So, So I say just advertise it, see what's out there, set up the criteria. If we have Mr. Peter here, the event planner, get him involved in it to set the criteria and put it out on the website and see what you get.
Well, the pilot project has to be presented to council for approval before
That's
we
right.
advertise.
That's right. Okay, any further discussion, Councillor?
Yeah, just, I agree with Sharon. We don't want a administrative and logistic nightmare in a pilot project. And I think the discussion originally did start as 2 vendors looking to be here for the season.
Yeah.
And particularly since there is the work of making sure that they have all their I's dotted and T's crossed, that we go for 2 vendors for the season. We define the season as, I don't know, July and August. 8-9 weeks I'll get out of it, and that should be sufficient.
Yep. And then we'll advertise, we'll ask for submissions, and then we'll make a decision. Any further discussion on this? Sharon, is there any other information you need from us?
Well, I'll put most of the information together in the pilot, but we will have to determine if it's per season, per weekend, per day, what the fee schedule looks like associated.
Right. Need some time to take a look at it, Councillor
If
Jarvis.
we're doing it per season, then we should, when we get to, in the pilot project, then we should give them the dates that we want, that they have to commit to these dates. So if you say per season for July and August on these weekends, you have to be here. You're gonna be charged to be here whether you're here or not.
Okay.
And they can choose to be absent if they wish, but they basically rented their space for the entire season, whether they're here or not.
Okay. Anything further? Okay.
8.2, fryer installation, council requested additional information, no further action required, information provided.
Yes, there was, Councillor Jarvis, you'd asked for that information when we were having
Oh yeah, I
a
forgot.
conversation about the restaurant or the canteen.
That,
And you'll also see that there was a letter issued in regards to follow-up from our last conversation.
yeah, I forgot that I had requested that. And that was just to back up my original statement when we were talking about going out to tender for the new contract, to make sure that we are aware of how much money is invested into that for rental purposes.
That's right. And we also had a further conversation about, oh, sorry, just had a senior's moment. We also had a further conversation about, when we were having that full discussion about restaurant versus canteen. Some issues came up, and so you can see attached the letter that was sent to the current lease agreement. Any questions, comments, or points of discussion about either of those, recognizing that the letter is locked?
No, I think it's fine.
Item 8.3, food cupboard request for council discussion.
Okay, there's a number of attachments there in terms of food cupboard. People will remember we had a delegation last meeting from the food cupboard asking for a variety of things. They wanted to know about signage, they wanted to know about tin for the bin, they wanted to know about getting a fridge in there or a mobile food cart. Most important, they were worried about hours and access and whether they could have a locked cupboard, all of those kinds of things. I've taken some time in this past week and went over to the rec center, because if people will remember, we talked about there being maybe some space at the back ice area for food cupboard, as opposed to having it up in the main area. And I went and took a look at that space, and also took a look at the storage space in the back of the credit union here. And I would like to suggest that it would make things a whole lot easier if we moved the food cupboard to the storage area in the back of the old credit union. It's right next to the back door. People would be able to just come in that back door. The food cupboard's right there. The good thing about that is we don't have to worry about hours. Lisa brought up a good point saying, what are the hours for the rec center during the summer? And during the summer, a lot of the programming and stuff is outside. And so the rec center isn't always open. It's not always going to be unlocked, and it's going to be very unpredictable hours. And so even right now, if our rec director is out of the building doing something, going to a meeting, at a conference, workshop, whatever, then the rec center has to be closed because we can't leave it open for anybody to walk in there. And that makes it really hard for either people to access the food cupboard or people to drop off food. If we have it here, we can have Public Works build a door right here at the end of the hall. So anybody who's accessing the food cupboard can't access the rest of the building. When administration staff comes in at 8:30 Monday mornings, they can open the back door. Anybody can access the food cupboard between 8:30 and 4:30 Monday to Friday to either pick up food or drop food off. And the office is always open, 8:30 to 4:30 Monday to Friday, unless it's a weekend or holiday. So I'd like to suggest we do that. The area of storage in the back storage area here in the bank is much bigger than what they have available to them over there. There's electricity, there's room to put a fridge in if they would like. They can do what they want there, as opposed to having it over the rec center and having hours that can't be counted on. What do other people think?
I agree.
Yeah, I think this is a good idea. Also, as we discussed, possibly have a automatic locking mechanism on the back door that could open up during certain hours as well, if we want to expand it. Or again, even weekend hours. I don't know if we only want to have it while there are people in the front office, then what I'm saying doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But we have many options having it in that location as opposed to the community center.
Mm-hmm.
It makes more sense.
Yeah, this makes more sense.
It's more constant.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see that they also replied in terms of garden boxes, because I had mentioned when they were here for the delegation, have they thought about doing community boxes? And she had replied, yes, wouldn't it be great if we had a couple behind the rec center? That wasn't what I was meaning. I was meaning having some garden boxes over at the community gardens where all the other community gardens are. And so I don't think that we can start putting garden boxes behind the rec center, any of those kinds of things. Certainly they could get a community garden box over at Mr. Moore Park. And I think she had also been asking about advertising and signage, and I guess what I would say about that is if she wants to get some signs made, I can't imagine that we would be adverse to that. Maybe she would need to consult with us in terms of where and how big. But if she has someone who wants to make up some signs, I don't think it would be a problem putting a sign on the back door in regards to the food cupboard and letting people know that it's available there. And I think that she was also requesting having tin for the bins at different community events that happen. And I would like to hear from council, but I certainly am not averse if she wants to get a big container and ask people for a tin for the bin. She can put that all over social media if she wants to, and then come and pick the stuff up. I don't see any problem with that unless council has some objection. Councillor Gendron?
We do have some long-standing commitments with Evergreen Basic Needs for a tin for the bin. Well, yeah, so who's definitely still supporting our community. So while I fully support the request for tin for the bin, I think we should be cognizant of our long-term arrangements and make sure that it's at other events that those arrangements aren't happening.
Right.
The other thing is, so we don't run into the same issues that we've been running into. I don't think Lisa envisioned this to be growing to what it grew to. And so it's sort of been an ever-evolving thing. I think it's important that they understand where we're coming from as far as the space, and that we understand what their sort of needs are with regard to wanting to put fridge, and all of that is discussed before we commit to putting the door in and going that way, making sure that, you know, the hours that we're able to give them are suitable. The only concern with weekends is this building's alarmed, and people other than administration shouldn't have alarm access to the building. And that, you know, if the hours are 8:30 to 4:30, that includes people that are coming in to pick up, donate, and organize. So
Yeah.
those are the hours. We're not in a position to be giving alarm codes to people that are not administration in this building.
No, we cannot.
So I just think some discussion about the space as a whole and what we can do with that space for them within reason before they move in would be extremely helpful, I think, for both them as an organization and a group of volunteers, and us as well for being able to support them with in-kind as we have been.
Yeah, absolutely. Councillor Jarvis?
Firstly, I have enormous respect and praise to the person that's doing all this. And I think that every one of us in here feels the same way, that there are people out there that their financial security is compromised. And because their financial security, or they're insecure about their finances, it puts them in awful positions.
Yeah.
I understand the concept of commitments to evergreen basic needs, but with the addition of financial insecurity comes transportation. Now, albeit, you know, I'm in favor of evergreen basic needs. However, we might be talking about people, and even seniors, that are in no way, shape, or form able to even get to evergreen basic needs. So whatever we can afford this person to get this project going, I think we should. Now, saying that, I have to be cognizant of the fact that it's not on our agenda as a function of this council, nor a function of the town of Winnipeg Beach. So whatever, if we can offer whatever support to this person, then let's do it. I think it's a great idea here. I think Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 4 is good. I think if this person can find volunteers to help man that, then do that. I think that, and I can only imagine that this person is realizing that this is morphed into a much bigger project. However, it's morphed by definition that there's a definite need for this.
Yeah. So
at the same time, we're only capable of doing what we are capable of doing because we represent the entire ratepayer structure.
Yeah.
So ergo, we have to designate time to other things. So if this person can get this going and we can offer support, then let's do it. But I think there's a definite need for this town to start to separate. We're becoming more needy, no pun intended, but we're becoming more needy within our own community, and we need to recognize that.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And I'm all for this, Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 4:30.
Yeah,
And that
just-
will get, like some of this stuff, and I apologize for some of this stuff, like there's pettyism in here, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
we
And,
don't-
and I'm not gonna go there, but you know what, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, we're not.
Yeah, what we're supposed to be doing as a council, that should never be there.
Well,
We're here to,
we're not gonna get into all of
no, but my point is that we've got he said, she said, and it's all over, you know, let's do what we can do, let's recognize what we can do, and let's get hard at it and get it done.
Yeah, and that's why I'm not going through each of those things. I mean, the reality is there are some good people who are trying to do some good things in the community, and there are some
Lots of
good
good
people
people.
on council who are trying to support the good people to do some good things, and let's just keep our focus on that, as opposed to getting into drama, because nobody needs drama. As much as we can do to support is great, and I think it just brings a lot of containment to the whole project by having it here and having the regular hours that everybody can count on, 8:30 to 4:30, Monday to Friday. They know they can come and get food, they know they can come and drop off food, and the ball is your uncle. Councillor Jen?
Yeah, I know we tiptoe around not using names and things, but she did come as a delegation at the last meeting, so I guess it is quite all right that we're all referring to as Lisa Teal and all of Lisa Teal's hard work instead of all her hard work, or a member of the community's hard work. So it's
for
Lisa
sure.
who has headed it up, and I have to agree with Councillor Jarvis. I think it has morphed into something much bigger than she probably anticipated in the beginning.
Absolutely.
And that only demonstrates our ignorance. at how big this problem actually is. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I think,
Yeah.
some of us. have-
Like, I think, I'm in awe of even, on the news every day, that I see things that are happening, and I go, oh my God, I had no idea that was happening.
Yeah.
And there are people out there that are in definite need.
Oh, absolutely. Councillor Kozlowski.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea that we have it here as well. The only thing I'm concerned about is the same at the rec center, where people can come in and help themselves to what they want and as much as they want, and maybe not leave enough for the next person that really needs it. And we're not gonna solve that. That's happened from day one. It's gonna happen till day end.
You know,
I was in touch with Evergreen the other day. I had a good talk with Karen. She's also spoken to Lisa. Evergreen is also starting a project, I believe, in April, where vehicles will bring in some of the food around to the RMs in case this person here's car's broken down or she's got no gas or whatever. So they're gonna be starting a pilot project in April. And once again, this has grown immensely. And it's gonna grow even further. Now, whether we get together with Evergreen or what happens, that's gonna be between the two of them, maybe with council support. And there are events, again, that Evergreen has hold of in this town, which is the auto show here, where it's in for the bin. And also the schools where they donate, where not necessarily it goes to us, but, well, in a way it does, because it's farmed out to Evergreen, and Evergreen divides it between amongst the communities. So once again, I am in support of this. It's just,
You know, I'm not gonna say it's never gonna happen, Councillor Kozlowski. There's always gonna be, one or two people here who might take more than what they need. But we can't police that.
I know.
And I would much rather assume that, people are good. And I would imagine it's hard enough having to think about going to a food cupboard to get enough food to feed your kids. And so I'm assuming that most if not all, people who are using the food cupboard are doing it in a good way. And doing it because they have to, and I would hate to try and police this to make sure nobody's taking more than what they need. And if someone's having a bad enough day that all they can think of doing is going and taking food that they don't need, knowing that it's probably hurting other folks who do need it, then God bless them. They're having a bad day, but I don't think we should spend a lot of time or energy trying to police that process. Lisa had also asked about food cart for fresh vegetables. I would imagine then she can do that here. The only thing that I think that we need to caution her about is that we can't be having, if we have fresh produce, we can't be having rotting food sitting in there. So she'll have to just make sure that it's really maintained in terms of getting fresh produce there, but also getting rid of anything that might not be in the best of shape. Unless people have a different opinion about that. Councillor Jarvis, you had your hand up.
Yeah, if they do go in there, then there might be some, and you had mentioned signage, like do not block doorway, blah, blah, blah. And maybe getting a hold of some sort of a refuse container. Because it'd be packaging, one of the things that was mentioned was empty boxes and stuff. So if this stuff is coming in, then there has to be some sort of I know there's a small one on beside where everybody parks back there, but I don't know if that's gonna, if we start to use it for what it's intended to use, we're gonna create debris.
Well, I would imagine if people are bringing boxes of food in with them, they can empty the boxes onto the cupboard and then take the boxes back into the car and go. So you don't have to leave the boxes there.
Let's hope so.
Take them with you. That's kind of.
So just looking clear, like if we're looking at some sort of terms of reference agreement for that space, does council have any terms of reference they want to address?
Councillor General?
Who is responsible for the cleaning of the space?
They are.
Okay, so that needs to be indicated.
The cleaning, the maintenance of the space
is all on them.
And monitoring it and making sure there's enough food in there. Like, we're just providing them with the space to do what they need to do. We're not taking any responsibility in terms of.
Okay, so so that needs to be included in there.
Including workforce.
Pardon me?
Including workforce.
Absolutely, yeah, no, our
We don't
staff
stock
are way
shelves.
too busy doing whatever they're doing already.
If we're saying Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 4:30, we need to indicate, except statutory holidays. Um, Yeah, a couple of the things that Doug mentioned, about keeping the doorway clear. I struggle with what is basic common knowledge and what needs to be included in an agreement. So if what I'm saying is really basic common knowledge, then don't worry about including it. Common sense, thank you. Yeah, I think there needs to be something with regard to, I have a concern about fresh produce being moved from outside to inside and the risk of insect rodent issues. I have a concern about that. I don't know if it is appropriate for fresh produce to be stored in there, unless they have a refrigeration method to contain it. So if they don't have a fridge, I don't think it's appropriate for them to be storing produce in there.
That's six, I go through that problem every year. It happens, back door. Just the fact that the back door is gonna be open, close, open, close, open, close, that in itself, without the produce, is gonna be a problem.
No, and that's not what I mean. I just mean that
Yeah.
produce on the shelf would just contribute to that.
Oh, I know, it's
So all I'm saying is if they're going to be storing produce, it needs to be stored in a refrigerated,
oh, correct,
yeah.
but she had
So that-
mentioned refrigerator, so.
No, but Sharon is asking for things that need to be
Okay.
included in this agreement.
No,
So I'm
right.
saying that produce needs to be stored, if produce is being stored, it needs to be stored in a refrigerated unit.
Okay. So if people have extra vegetables from the garden, tomatoes or cucumbers or whatever, they can come in and put them in the fridge and people can come and help themselves.
Or they can bring it when the cart is here and put it in the cart outside. But if it doesn't all go, which I can't imagine happening, and she then needs to bring it in, it needs to go in the fridge.
Okay.
For
So she can have
storage.
the cart outside if she wants to, but when she brings it in at night, it's gotta go into the fridge.
Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Jarvis.
If we're talking about maintaining a certain level of cleanliness, does she have access to running water, a sink, mop? Do we have, if she wants to wipe things down, how does she get water in there?
Council discussion. Initially, it was not to provide access to the entire building, but
Yeah.
council can choose that to do what.
Well, we're mentioning, and again, Councillor Gendron has, it's right, like, there's gonna be a level of cleanliness that you have to have, so, I mean, I'm all over food carts, having the proper sanitation and running water, you know what I mean? So, for sure, if we're doing that here, then, we might wanna look at extending a sink in there or something, some sort of a hand wash sink.
Or they bring a bucket of, they have a designated cleaning day and they bring their supplies with them and they clean and they take their supplies home.
Yeah, or a 5-gallon bucket of water, or are there hose connections around the building?
There's a hose connection there, yeah. You don't need to clean with hot water. You can clean with a sanitizing solution.
Yeah.
Wash it, then sanitize it.
Yeah.
So in that regard, maybe we just provide them with a hose. So,
Or
yeah, hose isn't bad. Spray it down with a spray head,
Donate to them.
add some soap to it, yeah.
if they're responsible for cleaning, they're responsible for cleaning and we leave it at that
They have to
they're
figure it out.
responsible for cleaning.
Yeah, I don't know that we have to problem solve that. I think that,
Yeah, but we have a hose connection.
If they need a hose, I'll give them a hose. Yeah.
Which will be really great in January for cleaning. So,
you know what, folks?
no, so that's
Another
what I'm
5 gallon of water.
saying. They're
They can figure it out.
responsible for keeping it clean
They can figure out how to
and
do
they
it.
can figure it out.
They're smart women.
Because if we say we're gonna provide you with a hose attachment, what happens in January? We're not fulfilling our commitment.
It
Okay.
won't work.
We got, okay. I think that we have
Digress.
enough information available for terms of reference and trust that people running the food cupboard can figure out how to keep it clean. Any other information you need, Sharon?
If that's all the terms of reference council's interested in, it's council's agreement.
Councillor General?
Do we have a time frame on this? for review in a year?
Let's say, let's say the end of the summer. It's a pilot, I don't wanna leave it for a year. I would like to suggest that we review it in, September, before we get into the fall and Christmas season. So 6 months. Anything else on this, council?
Okay. New business 9.1, Big R grant by Community Futures. The CO has reached out to our tourism development community engagement manager. They are currently investigating with Community Futures in reference with a tourism plan and if that would be eligible for this particular grant. So there has been no further update provided at this point. So if a resolution of council will be required, we will be looking at having that for April 3rd meeting. Breast Cancer Pledge. Be it resolved that council authorize the closing of Main Street and Center Avenue on June 23rd, 2024 for the purpose of the 23rd Annual Breast Cancer Pledge Ride. And further be it resolved that council authorize Public Works to provide barricades as required.
You gonna move it, please? Councillor Jarvis. Can I get a seconder, please? Councillor Hurl. This is a request that comes to us every year. I certainly don't see any reason not to support this. I'd like to hear from other members of council.
I support it.
I support it.
Okay, all in favor? Carried.
Item 9.3, Crime Stoppers, additional signs. The current signs we received are at the far left corner of Chambers. At this point, no decision of council until the signs have been placed, whether or not additional signs are required.
Okay, that sounds good.
Nine point four, be it hereby resolved that the CAO be authorized to sign the Municipal Economic Development Infrastructure Program, MEDIP, funding agreement between the town of Winnipeg Beach and the government of Manitoba.
Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Jarvis. Any seconder, please? Councillor Gendron. I just would like to state for the record that Minister of Municipal and Northern Relations has awarded Winnipeg Beach with a grant of $815,000 after a huge amount of work done by our CAO and our fire chief in applying for this grant. And they put hours and hours of blood, sweat, and tears into this grant to support our fire station. And we were pretty shocked and surprised and amazed to be awarded the $815,000, which is going to go a real long way to helping our fire department to actually replace the equipment and trucks that they need. This is the biggest grant I believe that Winnipeg Beach has ever received. This is a huge kudo, and I want to give huge kudos to our CAO, Sharon, and to Dave, our fire chief, because they worked their butts off to get this done for us. And this is a real feather in the cap for our community, and this is something that is fantastic news for our community and for support of our community and our fire department. So that's absolutely brilliant. Any questions, comments, or points of discussion about this, Councillor Gendron?
Yeah, I have spoken to Dave and congratulated him and want to congratulate Sharon as well. This takes a huge pressure off of us, dollar-wise, as far as budgeting finances, where was money coming from, huge. And it was nice to have a good news piece of finance information for moving forward. So thank you, Sharon.
Other comments?
Yeah, I'd like to say thank you as well. I've already had residents talking to me about it, and they're very excited as well.
That's very exciting. All in favor? carried.
Item 9.5, BGO photos of iconic landmarks for the Richardson Center.
Sorry, my computer just. Technology is good until it's not, eh? Where are we?
There's really no action.
Okay, can I get a mover, please?
There's no resolution of council.
Of course there isn't.
Item.
Yeah, I'm just catching up here. Let me just open this up. So this is a request for, actually, Sharon, can you take this? I'm still trying to find the information.
Sure. So this item is placed under new business and not under correspondence, simply to give exposure to any resident who may be interested in submitting their photos. We are not, the town is not the go-between for the photo submission, so we recommend that residents who are interested in having their photos potentially printed and displayed at the Richardson Center contact BGO directly.
We've got some wonderful photographers in our community taking some pretty wonderful pictures of Winnipeg and Winnipeg Beach, and so it would be lovely to see one of their pictures up there if anybody's interested.
And just to clarify, it's landmarks they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, iconic Winnipeg landmarks.
Yeah.
So there may be older photos that people may have.
I will, on the Historical Society, I will share this with Wendy Peters to see if she's got anything and let her know to just reach out to them directly.
Okay.
If she has anything she would like to share with them.
Okay.
Item 9.6.
I would like to take this time to thank Countryside Garbage for their fantastic work and service keeping our community clean over the last number of years. They did not put tender in for this year's contract because there's other avenues they're wanting to explore, but I am very impressed with the kind of work ethic and quality of work and integrity that Countryside Garbage has provided for our community, so I want to acknowledge that and thank them very much for their service, and I wish them well in their future new endeavors. It's very exciting.
9.7, be it hereby resolved that council approve Tara Anterchild to attend the 2024 Finance and Administration Boot Camp being held in Winnipeg on May 13th to the 15th, 2024 from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at a cost of $825 plus applicable taxes, out-of-pocket expenses, and travel per diem.
All right, mover, please. Councillor Jarvis. Seconder, please. Councillor Kozlowski. Discussion? All in favor? Carried.
$9.8 boiled water advisory artesian well.
So the well in question has been capped off, so no use is available for it. Once the well starts running again, then it will be tested, given that no commercial or residential properties use that use the well on a regular basis, then we don't have to do anything further. But just to let you know, it's not unusual this time of year for boil water advisory to come out in terms of the artesian well. Any questions or comments? Okay.
Be it resolved that council authorizes an advertisement space size blank at a cost of blank in the digital Canadian military history guides.
May I mover, please? Councillor Jarvis. And the seconder, please. Councillor Gendron. Have some discussion. I believe that for these kinds of things, we were looking at getting all the requests in at the same time so that we could make a decision considering everything. What do people think of this request? Councillor Blow?
I think it's a good request. I can't remember what we took out in the previous years.
Page.
Pardon me?
I believe it was a quarter page.
So this
Was
is
it?
a new, this
Oh,
is
this
a
isn't
new
the same one?
initiative.
Oh, sorry.
And so what you're referencing is the Manitoba Northwest Ontario Command, which we did take out a quarter page at a cost of $340, and those are all those printed books. So it is a different initiative. I did clarify with that. The response is this is in reference to the Wounded Warriors. This is a brand new project in support of Wounded Warriors. Military Support Publications is an organization dedicated to supporting Canada's veterans. We will be developing a series of Canadian military history guides on the Wounded Warriors Canada website. Through this project, they aim to raise $500,000. So this is not the same as what's happened in the past when we look at that we've automatically sort of advertised for.
Yeah. I guess what I was kind of referring to is what we would have purchased previously for sizes wise and price, of course.
So if this is
Councillor Gendron?
if this is a campaign, there does not appear to be a do it by this date on this letter. So if it's a campaign, can this go with the other requests that we will be reviewing during budget discussions?
It can, but this is not a grant request, this is an advertising opportunity.
Okay, okay.
Councillor Jarvis?
I'll back up Councillor Hu on the court page.
Do we have room in our budget?
For 520, yeah, 519.75.
Yep.
Is that one?
Size quarter page at 519.25. All in favor? Carried.
Be it hereby resolved that council approve Carissa Melick to attend Eastman Recreation Professional Spring Meeting and Training being held in LaBroquerie on April 18th, 2024 from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at a cost of $35, plus applicable taxes, out-of-pocket expenses, and travel per diem.
We're gonna move it, please. Councillor Jarvis. Need a seconder, please. Councillor Gendron. Discussion? All in favor? Carried.
Whereas the current employment contract for the CAO state salary review shall be conducted annually, and whereas a performance review has not been conducted within 3 months of the anniversary date, and whereas the CAO has not received any letter of concern regarding performance, therefore be it resolved that council approve a salary increase equal to the annual increase of the collective bargaining unit being CPI, and further be it resolved the increase is effective January 1st, 2024.
Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Kozlowski. And seconder, please. Councillor Hu. Discussion? Councillor Gendron.
Yes, well, the CAO has not received any letters of concern regarding performance. Councillor Jarvis and I did meet as the members of the personnel, and we think it's important that there be positive feedback. So we will be sending an email tomorrow to the rest of council just for some feedback so that it can be presented to the CAO at a later date.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, or points of discussion? All in favor? Carried.
Whereas a request for donation has been received by the town of Winnipeg Beach, therefore be it resolved that council for the town of Winnipeg Beach authorize a donation in the amount of $400 to Evergreen Festival of the Arts.
We got a mover, please? Councillor Jarvis. Can I get a seconder, please? Councillor Kozlowski. This is something that we do every year. Any questions, comments, points of discussion?
Is the amount the same as other years, or
No,
is it
this-
fluctuated, or?
This year is an increased level of amount.
Okay. What is it usually?
I cannot open the
Yeah.
software to view that.
Other discussion? No? All in favor? Carried.
Item 913, World's Mixed Doubles Curling Championship, the lots. So the CAO was to provide a report, however, other council matters prevented the CAO to get a written report for today's meeting. We have received notice from the curling club that they are bumping up their annual celebration, their wind-up, to April 5th, as normally their wind-up would occur while the mixed doubles is happening, and therefore the lots would not be able to attend. The CAO would like to recommend that there are several options if council so chooses to support the achievements made by the lots. Several of them being sponsorship in a donation amount to the curling club to put up their wind-up, offering the community center at no cost to the curling club. There's the option to look at putting a plaque together for presentation at the wind-up, or there's certainly a monetary sponsorship to offset the costs to the lots for attending the Worlds. Another option is to place a large 4x8 sign honoring the lot's achievement and bringing Winnipeg Beach to the Worlds, and have that placed at the curling club for years, like the other advertisement signs.
Can I get some discussion, please?
I think we should have a big sign
Yeah, I like the idea of the sign too.
when we come into town.
A big sign when we come into town.
Yeah, you know how they say, daring themselves over here.
On our billboard, that's our nice.
So the struggle with that is this is not their home. They actually live in
I know,
the area of Gimli.
but he
So, which is why the sign at the curling club is probably more appropriate, because he does curl out of there.
Yeah.
So, and that was kind of the whole confusion. If you were watching, they were saying that they were from Gimli, and then finally somebody and one announcer mentioned, but they curl out of Winnipeg Beach. So it technically is not the home of the lots. It is the curling home.
Okay. So a sign makes sense for folks? At a curling club? Okay.
Is there any consideration for the curling club's wind-up to waive the fee to rent the arena? Or are we charging the?
Well, that's an in-kind that we could do
Oh,
as well.
absolutely. I think
Yeah.
that if they're wanting to do their wind-up at the rec center, for sure, I don't think we should be charging them a fee at all.
Okay, so to be clear, how about I'll read this resolution and then council can
Okay.
fill in the blank. Whereas council would like to acknowledge the achievements by Kadrina and Colton Locke by winning gold at the Canadian Mixed Curling Championship, thereby representing Manitoba at the World's Mixed Doubles Championship. And whereas the Curling Club is hosting their annual wind-up on April 5th, 2024, and whereas the wind-up will also have a celebration for the lots, therefore be it resolved that council authorize the following.
Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Jarvis, can I get a seconder, please? Councillor Kozlowski.
So the following that we agreed to was the use of the curling club, or the fees waived at the community center
Yes,
for their annual wind-up,
yes,
a sign in the curling club acknowledging their achievement,
yes. That's it.
and I don't know
Any
if there's anything
others?
else on the list.
Is there anything else people would like to suggest?
Do we want, so we had originally planned to have something to celebrate Colton's achievements. We had set a dollar amount, it never happened. Do we also want to make a monetary donation to the wind-up to help offset their costs? Because that didn't end up transpiring, and we said we would assist with this one. Do you remember the amount, Councillor Kozlowski?
I think it was a couple $100.
What do other people think?
Sure.
Remember that.
I mean,
And a $200
Okay,
donation to
the wind up.
to help offset costs of wind-up?
Okay. All in favor? Carried.
Be it resolved that council accept the committee reports as presented.
Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Jarvis. Can I get a seconder, please? Councillor Cool. I trust everybody's had an opportunity to read all of the committee reports. I noticed the fire chief report includes the issue with Tanker 2 when they were out at the last call, so that grant came at a very good time.
The fire chief has presented an update. As of today, Tanker 2 is back in service. It had series of fuel systems issues, but all repairs have been completed, but there was no dollar figure attached to the report.
Wonderful. Okay. And people see the new band agreement.
Just scratching.
Okay, so is there any questions, comments, or points of discussion about any of these reports? Councillor Jarvis?
on the band agreement, the one that says you can't have performed within 60 kilometers, within 30 days or something, that's gonna affect people like Adam T. Elvis and a whole bunch of people. So I'm not sure if I'm fond of that one. Like there are people that, yeah, like there's so many different small communities here,
Yeah.
you know, so, and I just use Adam T. Elvis because he'll play at Petersfield, he'll play at the Fraserwood Hall, he'll play at Gimli, and then he's playing here. And according to that, he can't play here if he's played in Gimli last week. So I think that should be.
Yeah, I
I'd
think
like
that
to
should
see
be
that
removed.
deleted as well.
So the rationale behind that, based on our tourism development manager, was trying to mitigate the same bands being played in close proximity of each other, therefore minimizing the level of attendance. And so it's not saying that they can't, it's just looking at scheduling it in a way that it's not playing in a very close location one weekend and then the next weekend here.
Yeah. So the tourism development and community engagement worker is very aware of that and is putting plans together to make sure that that's not going to be a problem. Other questions, comments, points of discussion, Councillor Gendron?
Public Works utility report, I would just like to pass along. I have been speaking to a resident in the Park and Strollway area who has had some long-standing issues with ditching around her property. And I did pass this along to Sharon, but I want to acknowledge it as well. She could not contain her excitement over the fact that her ditch was cleared. She's hoping, she said it's the first time it's happened in 10 years. So I just want to thank Joe and his crew for getting on it as quickly as they received the request for the service. It was very appreciated by the homeowner and myself as well, because I had been dealing with the homeowner, so thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kozlowski.
Yeah, getting back to the bands, I'm not in agreement with us telling them what to play, like their originals or their cover songs. I don't believe any hotel in Winnipeg does that. I don't think we should be doing that as well. And also, number 2, is there a maximum amount that we will be paying these bands, or is it capped at somewhere?
Let me just,
I think the band should play what they want to play. And if you want to go up there, they take requests sometimes, you know, if they know the songs and that. Might have a request and bring it to them. But we should not be telling them that they have to play 80% to this and 20% to that.
Can I do a comment on that? I read that like, and maybe I interpreted it as they don't want a band coming and playing all of their own original music that nobody knows. So, and I don't know how others interpreted that, but that, I read that like, we're not gonna pay you good money for you to come and play a bunch of songs that nobody knows. If you're gonna play your own songs, you have to include at least 80% to cover songs, and we're only allowing you 20% to promote your own stuff.
Well, that hasn't never happened in the city of Winnipeg that I know of with any hotels or legions telling bands what to do and what not to do. They're there, you hire them, they entertain the people there, and if you want a percentage, go with 50-50 then, whatever, like I said. No, I've never heard that before.
Councillor Jarvis.
What have we budgeted for the bands, please? Do we know
Okay,
that?
so that's a budget discussion that we will be having.
Well, okay,
So a status quo has generally been 30,000.
because I know in the past we talked about this, about, you know, do we spend 5,000 and get 6 good bands? Or do we spend 2,200 and get like 30 so-so bands? Like what, you know, like some bands we know are gonna cost money. We know that. Do we hear their songs? Do we get to, you know, figure out it? And I think we talked about this once before. I'm all for, you know, I'd rather see 4, 5, 6 really good bands that we can really pack downtown, and then sometimes we get bands that are, you know, $900 and we get $900 worth of music. So.
Councillor Gendron?
Are we treading into something that's not our responsibility?
Yep.
We determine what we're willing to have spent on bands, and it is Peter's responsibility to be dealing with who gets hired and what gets paid out of that, and not to go over it.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, is that we set policy and give them a budget and let them know what we want, and then they are the ones that sort of research the best way to go about doing that. And so if he's put the 80-20 in there, I would assume that there is some reason for that, and I don't know that we should be saying, oh well, maybe it should be 70-30 or 50-50 or 60-40. You know, he knows more about this stuff than I do, than I pretend to do, and that's not our job. Our job is to set budget and set policy and procedure, and then so I don't want to get too much into the details of how he should be going about doing this. I think that one of our biggest concerns last year was that both paying some bands a significant amount of money and having them play from 7 o'clock until 8:30 when they were packing up and going home. And so we want bands there from 7 to 10, and we want it to fit within a certain budget, and that's what we need to focus on, I believe. Councillor Jarvis.
So, you know, it's a 2-part question, I guess. So why is it even on the agenda if we can't do anything about it? And because of that, why didn't we have a discussion about this before it went on the agenda?
This is a committee report. It's the same as the report that we get from Public Works. We're not looking at Public Works and saying, oh, they only sounded twice, why didn't they sound 3 times? Nor did we look at Recreation and say, oh, she had this program, why didn't she have that program? This This is coming to us for information about, they're reporting back to us what they're doing.
But it just seems counterintuitive, because part of our discussion was that this wasn't our current rec manager's cup of tea. So ergo, we should find somebody that could do this, and we had concerns because of that. And so we go out and we get a guy that's doing it, but we have no input as to what this guy wants to do. Because I've had no conversation, nobody ever contacted me about what I thought about the bands, and we had expressed some pretty serious concerns about these bands previously, about the hours that they played and the quality of the music.
Absolutely, we've talked about that here, which is why,
Like, this is all brand new information to me. I've never seen this.
okay.
About the agreements for the bands and everything else. And yet we had concerns prior to that. And I remember explicitly saying that we got bands that are leaving at 5 minutes to 9. You know what I mean? And now all of a sudden, and I agree with, when I say parts of the contract, but what I find hard to fathom is that if we have a concern with, say, this or that, and point two, that we have no input now, because now it's signed, sealed, and delivered. But we're the council.
Councillor who?
Yeah, I have to agree with, what Councillor Jarvis is saying. I have yet to meet Peter, but I too have a question similar. It was with the sponsorship program. I'm a little concerned with the limits and where they are, being the 250 and the 2,000. I think we're going to lose some sponsorships for the 125s, for the, I'm wondering if there was a way we could have sort of had a larger scale, because I'm afraid we're going to lose some sponsorship.
Okay, you're looking at another,
Yeah, just the sponsorship program.
okay.
I think last year we had 1,000, or if I remember, we had 125 maybe.
Yeah, we used to have 150s.
Yeah.
So you'd like to see more range of the sponsorship program?
Yeah, because I'd like to give the public a little more of an option.
Okay. So you'd like the range to go from 125 to?
Which even 100?
No,
Well,
but
could-
125 is the low end, and what would you like to see it go up to?
Could you do a 125, 250, 500 sort of thing? Is that unreasonable?
Okay.
Like Councillor Gendron sponsored last year, am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so did I.
And Councillor Kozlowski, yeah.
And I'm not gonna sponsor this year at 250. So you just lost $150.
So,
I'm just hoping to open it up a little wider, make it more available, more cost effective for people. Now,
okay, other discussion on this, Councillor Gendron?
Yeah, I would just like to point out, because this discussion has been opened, that you are getting more as a business for your contribution. If you look, so I'm just trying to find New Band Sandfront. You're getting more offered to you from an advertising perspective than you were getting in the past. So when I looked at this, I will agree, I initially had the same thoughts, what about those that wanted to sponsor at $100 level? But to me, this is now looking at, we've been pretty much sitting at the same level for years. To me, this looks to me like we need to take it a step further. We have an opportunity to make more money. And so things that are being offered are that they're opportunity to increase your brand awareness by means of a brochure or flyer that will be on display at the events for attendees to obtain, and at the main promotional tent that will, so they're buying advertising for the business. To me, this has shifted to try and take our request for sponsorship to a bigger level. We all agree we need other sources of revenue. This, to me, looks like he's taking an opportunity to try and increase revenue.
Okay, and so I'm hearing that in terms of business, but I'm also hearing that some individuals have also gone for sponsorship, and 250 might be too much for them, and so we're looking Some councillors suggesting that we have a bit more of a scale available so that if it's not just businesses that are sponsoring, if we have some individuals who are interested in doing it and 250 is too much for them, that we should make room available for that. Councillor Jarvis?
Yeah, I agree. I think there should be, and I'll say it, an open-end contribution, and for what it's worth. I mean, we had, when they originally tried to save the Jets, we had kids donating their allowance, and they felt good about that. Like, we've taken the ability for somebody to donate $50, and they feel good about that because they go to the bands, maybe don't have enough money, but we've taken that away from them. You know what I mean? And we need to somehow come up with a way that somebody that's gonna say, you know what, all I can give you is like $45, but I'm gonna do that because I go there every Saturday and listen to the bands.
Okay.
So we need to figure out that.
So I think that this, and I'm just guessing here because I haven't talked to Peter about this. Well, I haven't talked to Peter. But I think this is the business sponsorship. I believe there's still going to be the donation box that's sitting at the bandstand. And so if someone wants to put 25 or 50 bucks in there, absolutely, that would be great. I think that what he's looking at is when you get bigger sponsorship, how do we acknowledge them? So if we're suggesting that everybody who donates gets acknowledged in some kind of way, is that what's being suggested?
I think you could do that. They do that at telethons and that, they say
But
front
yeah,
and
at
blah, blah,
telethons
blah,
and
yeah.
stuff, they do that. So do you have a suggestion as to how we do that here?
Put out once we get all the sponsorships, I mean, it's not hard. And if you need me to do it, I'll do it. Just record the names and you can send out a letter. Say, thank you very much. Put it on your website. Thank you. You know, from Larry Kozlowski, $75. Thank you very much. You know what I mean? Some sort of acknowledgement. Like if you don't put your rod in the water, you don't get any bites. You never know. There's an awful lot of people that use it.
Okay. Councillor Kozlowski, then Councillor Gendron.
What was our maximum last year for sponsors? Was it 1,000?
It began at 150 at bronze level and 1,500 for signature.
And how many did we have at the max?
I can't call up data information. We had minimal sponsorship.
Because
levels.
what I'm worried about, when these figures keep going up, and again, businesses are hurting. They're closing early. They're closing days. How are we asking them for more money?
So the intent of the Tourism Development and Community Engagement Manager is not to just rely on the local business. So when we look at the $2,000 sponsorship level, hence why the scope of change from getting a town wine glass to more of promotional, is looking at outside businesses, larger corporations, to look at that $2,000 level and have that advertisement placed at the bandstand. It's not just looking at our local vendors for that level of sponsorship.
Well, we did have a lot of local vendors last year.
I don't believe that our donation
And they were gold,
level.
silver, bronze.
I don't think it was that big.
Please excuse me while I get that information, Councilor Kozlowski.
Let's take a 5-minute break.
Can I
Yeah,
just-
throw the washroom.
Just one more comment on this. We're just doing it again. We're telling him how to do his job. If we want to have a separate and want to ask him to consider, can you come up with some ideas for people that maybe want to sponsor at a lower level? Any ideas on how we could go about doing it and acknowledging? That's not telling him how to do his job. That's as a council making a request of something. But this is no different than, as was stated, this is a committee report. He's letting us know what he's doing. It's not our job to tell him how to do his job. It's Sharon's job. He has given us a report, and so
And we're responding to that report.
by telling him how to do his job.
One person at a time, please. One person at a time. Councillor Jarvis.
I kind of disagree with that. We've had some of these questions for, I'll say, the last year and a half. And when I say this, I mean, I have nothing against what this man's doing. But what I have against is that the questions that we have, we still have. The same questions we're asking now, we asked a year ago.
What questions are those?
About what bands, how much money, where are we getting the spot? This has all been ongoing. In fact, it was even mentioned, because Councillor Kozlowski had the question, I used to do this and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so I'm all for it, hold on, I'm all for this event planner guy. I think this is really good, because I've also been very critical of how we do the events sometimes. But at the same time, we've taken away the concept of a committee and a Q&A, and we've given it, we're back, and I disagree, we're back to exactly where we were before, but not because we weren't involved, is that we've got one person making decisions and we have questions that never get answered.
So what questions are not getting answered for you? Because I'm not sure that it's council's job to decide which bands.
Well, when I spoke with the event planner, one of the things we even talked about was maybe we didn't even need every weekend to have bands. Maybe we could have, I'll say a magician one time, or a hip, like there's other avenues to explore. And so what that 2-hour meeting that I had with this gentleman and all the feedback that the back and forth and the feedback that I provided went nowhere.
Well, I would believe that he is getting feedback from a whole lot of people, and getting feedback doesn't mean that he takes everybody's ideas and implements them, right? So you might have said, I would like to see magicians there on Saturday nights, but he might have heard from 10 other people, I want to see bands every Saturday night. And so we have to trust him to do the job that we've hired him to do.
Right, but why have we never had him sitting at a table and all of us at least provide input?
Well, it sounds like you've met with him.
I have.
Good.
This gentleman hasn't, ever.
Okay, well, I'm not sure why he hasn't.
Are we still rolling?
Yes, we are.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah, and don't misinterpret me. I'm not angry about this. I just find it odd that we've had some of these concerns, and I had them before I was even a councillor. Some of these concerns, and we have the same concerns, but now we're paying a totally different person to create the same concerns.
Yeah, I think that you and I disagree, Councillor Jarvis, in terms of what the job of council is. That we're supposed to be setting policy and budget. We're not supposed to be looking at the day-to-day operations of making the decisions about what bands play and what bands don't play here. That's somebody we hire to do that job. We don't hire someone to come and ask council, who do you want to see on the bandstand? Okay, I'll go and get them for you. We need to hire someone to do that part of his job. But Councillor Houle, you had your hand up, and then come back to Councillor Jarvis, and then over to RCA.
Yeah, I should be done after this. But again, just going back to the sponsorship program, when Councillor Gendron was saying the 250, and then she kept referring to business, and maybe I caught what you said was wrong, but if we had, say, 5 levels, again, it allows the common person. Yeah. If they want, and the box is good for the $20 here, the $10 there, even the $45 or whatever. But if we allow just more of a sponsorship, and there will be a sign out front, so if we get 10 people at 150, those names could go on that board. I just think when you go 250 and 2,000, we're going to lose a large variety.
Okay, fair enough. Sharon, you had some information.
Yeah, so we did not receive any $1,500 signature levels last year. We received 2 1,000 sponsorships. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 500 sponsorships. 8, and 9 250 sponsorships. 3 150 sponsorships and 1 $100 sponsorship. And out of the sponsorships, 3 sponsorships were of residents or individuals, not business-based.
Okay. And I understand that with this sponsorship plan, he's trying to get businesses that aren't in Winnipeg Beach, that might be larger corporations who might want to sponsor us. And so what I'm understanding from council is that keeping that and trying to get some of the bigger corporations that aren't living in Winnipeg Beach but would like to sponsor and having them up there for advertising, which would be great, but also open up a bit at the bottom for some of the smaller sponsorships.
I will have a conversation in reference to the levels of sponsorship.
Wonderful, thank you. Councillor Jarvis.
Okay, I disagree that it's not our responsibility, because we passed a resolution to hire this guy.
That was not our responsibility.
We were presented with a resume that we should hire this man, and we did. But if I'd known at the time that we weren't going to have any input into what we're discussing, I might have voted differently.
Okay. So what do you want?
Well, it's moot now. Like, I
Okay.
mean, like, I guess this is what we're gonna do with the bands. But, and it doesn't seem like, are any of these questions that we had before answered? Like, all the story that was, or I guess the action that was presented to me doesn't seem, it seems like I got the same thing, only with different parameters now.
So what questions are you left with, Councillor Jarvis?
Whether or not we even can afford the $30,000 worth of bands that we have. Why don't we just pick 2 or 3 or 4 really good bands and then find other venues? And that was a conversation that we had before this man was hired. Why don't we explore? We've had everything from Japanese drummers to the dog and pony shows out there. Why don't we present some of those? But it just seems like we're doing exactly what we did before.
Okay. So,
And that's all I have to say about it. So.
okay. So is other council wanting to change what we do on the bandstand Saturday nights? Is that what I'm hearing? Councillor Jensen?
I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but we hired somebody to make those decisions. Our job is to we did provide some feedback. Some of the feedback has clearly been addressed in that contract. There are specific hours. One of the biggest things that kept coming up from some of the members on this council was the number of hours and the amount of time. That has been addressed. This gentleman has been hired. We need to let him do his job. If we have an issue with how an employee is doing a job, we have a discussion with the CAO, not when the cameras are rolling. That's a personnel matter. It's our job to provide the money and let the person do their job. And as I said, to me, talking about how this individual is doing their job, we are discussing personnel issues in an open forum, and it is not an open forum discussion. It's a discussion with the CAO.
I also would like to suggest that if I'm hearing from council that council would now like to look at our Saturday evening entertainment differently and not be having bands, then that is a full discussion of council we need to have. But that's news to me. So I'm not sure where that discussion might have happened, but it hasn't happened at this table. It has not happened at this table. It could be that someone had once said in passing, maybe we could have magicians there, but it has certainly not been a serious discussion that we've had at this table that we are now doing different kinds of entertainment things there. Unless I am missing something or I wasn't at a meeting where that happened, but any of the meetings I haven't been to, I've watched on camera. So when you said, Councillor Jarvis, that we've had this discussion here before and we've had a number of questions, I wasn't part of that discussion, so I'm not sure where the discussion happened. If council is saying that they want to start changing Saturday night entertainment to be something different than bands, then let's have that discussion outside of a report from somebody that we've hired to do this job. If that's what you're wanting to do, then we'll do it. We'll get it on the agenda. We'll have that discussion. Councillor Jarvis.
We have had that discussion before, and again, I'm not criticizing this man's resume, his credentials, or his ability to do the job. I have a new band agreement on here, and the first time I saw it was on this agenda.
Okay.
Very first time, and that's all I've said from the beginning. Had I seen that band agenda before it was actually put on the agenda, that band agreement, we might have been able to say, you know what, maybe we want to look at this, or maybe we want, but that was removed from us.
Absolutely.
And we were the proponents we were the people who were saying, and I agree with you. Yeah, the hour, or with Councillor Gendron, the hours have been changed, they're harsh, but there were some issues regarding the quality of the bands themselves and what we pay, and that was never addressed.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyways, I yield, I don't care.
Peter put the performance agreement on the agenda as a point of information in terms of what he's working on. Are there some issues that you have with that?
No, I'm done, thanks.
Okay. Any other discussion on this? Okay, let's move along, shall we? Any other discussion about any other committee reports? No. Great. All in favor? Carried.
12.1, roundtable discussions.
EIWD. Councillor Gendron, have you been,
And no, the latest was an email did go to them. I have still not had anything from them. But I did get CC'd on the email.
okay, so there was a meeting, I believe, this last Thursday.
Yeah.
You didn't get emailed
I
on
didn't
that?
get, no. I got the email. I think you have done enough, Sharon. I think I will just call the individual and introduce myself and,
If you could,
yeah.
that would be good,
Yeah.
thank you. I'm sorry, I got an email on it and I assumed you were on it. I assumed that you received the same.
No.
I'm sorry, I could have sent that on to you. Anybody else attend any committees? Councillor
Yeah,
Kozlowski?
just I want to make a correction to the Evergreen Basic Needs that I had stated earlier in a meeting that they had 35 individuals from their February 28th meeting, although I was not in attendance for that one, it was a previous commitment. And in fact, it was 20 households and 14 of the households received 2 hampers.
Wow.
And a third one sometimes on an emergency base. So it was a total of 35 households with 41 individuals. And I spoke to Karen yesterday, so we had quite a lengthy conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And in February, there were 26 households with 55 individuals. So it seems the numbers are on the rise. So I do apologize for that error because I was not in that meeting, and I sort of took the number as individuals instead of households. And that's the way they want the harvest reporting as well as the households.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little tricky with what you're saying because on one hand, it's households, but they're getting 2 hampers. And they classify that, I guess, as another household, which it could go to another household. So, and on another note, I was at the Gimli Senior Resource Center, and they are looking for drivers to deliver Meals on Wheels to our municipalities, and also for cleaners in the Gimli area. So if anybody is interested, there is a phone number that I'll leave. And you can get in touch with them, and they're in desperate need of drivers for Meals on Wheels.
In this area here, like in my
Our whole attachment, which would include Gimli, Donato, Panema, Whitehall.
Okay.
Those are the 2 meetings.
Any other people who report on meetings that they've attended? Went to the media training this last week. Myself, Councillor Gendron, Councillor Jarvis, and Councillor Poole. Through our disaster planning and working with the media, it was a very good and informative day. It was a full day meeting. But because all or most of you were there, I don't know that we have to report on that. Can I get a mover, please? No, am I doing this, Sharon?
Be it hereby resolved that council approves the committee and board reports as presented.
Get a mover, please, Councillor Jarvis. Seconder, please, Councillor Gendron. All in favor? Carried.
Be it hereby resolved that the correspondence be accepted as circulated.
Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Jarvis. Can I get a seconder, please? Councillor Gendron. I trust everybody had an opportunity to read the correspondence. Any questions, comments, points of discussion about any of it? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried.
So the dangerous dog hearing is set for 4 p.m. So we can recess council until 4 p.m.
Sounds like a good plan.
So be it hereby resolved. I don't have a resolution, didn't expect that to happen here. Let me just. Be it hereby resolved that council recess the regular meeting of council at 3:15 p.m. to resume at 4 p.m. for the dangerous dog hearing.
Can I get a mover, please? Council Jarvis, can I get a seconder, please? Council Kozlowski, all in favor? Carried. Thank you, Jody.
You're welcome.
Okay, you should be live.
Be it hereby resolved that council reconvene the regular meeting at 4:06 PM.
Need a mover, please? Councillor Jarvis. Seconder, please. Councillor Kozlowski. All in favor? Carried.
Be it resolved that the regular order of business of council be temporarily suspended to open the dangerous dog hearing in accordance with bylaw 13/2018, being a bylaw to provide the regulation and control of animals within the boundaries of the town of Winnipeg Beach.
Need a mover, please? Councillor Gendron. Need a seconder, please? Councillor Jarvis. All in favor? Carried.
Okay, so we are now in public hearing and we will call upon our animal control officer to present information to council.
Thank you, Chris. If you could go ahead, please, and let us know.
Yes, so basically key information, this all goes back December 12th, is where the RCMP reported to LA being knocked down by 2 St. Bernard dogs, and you'll have the police report in that. At that point, we did not know who the owner of the dogs was. We actually thought it was somebody on the other side of the tracks. So not a whole lot was done in that situation. March 1st, I received videos and phone calls and multiple pictures of these dogs running at large and defecating on the neighbor's property and the sidewalk all in front, which the homeowner has not picked up, to the point where the file's still sitting in that lady's driveway right now. When she gets home from vacation, it will be there. On March 13, I received 2 complaints. I received a call about the dogs continuously barking all the time, uncontrolled. Noise issues involving the dogs barking. It's only just 24/7 when they're in the backyard. And then I received another dog attack. And I've got the witness here, Beverly, right here as well. I do have her statement within the file you guys have. Okay. Do you have a copy of your statement?
No, I didn't.
Beverly, would you like to just talk to us and let us know what happened?
Yes, so on the morning of March 11th, it was a Monday, around 10 o'clock, I was walking 2 dogs. I was babysitting, dog sitting 2 dogs. And I walked them down Chestnut and then up to McPherson and then across the tracks towards town with them. And I usually go that route because I know there's no other dogs around that are loose that I know of, so I thought that was a safe route. So just as we crossed the tracks, from behind, just out of the blue, came this huge St. Bernard and started attacking one of the dogs. And my poor dog was like so frightened and was going around and around in circles, and I had 2 dogs, so they were both like sort of surrounding me. And in the meantime, I was screaming at the St. Bernard and trying to hit it with the head of the leash. And I was getting all tangled up, so I didn't have much luck in that. But eventually I was tangled to the point where I fell down. And then I quickly got up because I wasn't sure what would happen, with me being down. And eventually I was able to hit that dog 3 times with the head of the leash, and he backed off, and I yelled at him to go home, and he scampered away. But he did bite the back end of my dog, and it does have a scab on its back right now. Not my dog, but my daughter's dog. So anyhow, it was quite frightening, and I didn't know what to expect from this animal. I have never seen them before in town. So it ran off, and I was able to get my dog calmed down and myself calmed down, and I watched where the dog was going. And later on I went in my car and I went that direction to see if I could see where they lived, and found them and found that the owner was outside. So I asked if he was the owner, and he said yes, and I told him what happened, and he was reasonable and said, "Oh, I'm very sorry. They're usually friendly dogs." And I said, "Well, I know St. Bernards normally are, but not today." And I asked why they weren't tied. And then he sort of became aggressive and his body language changed. And he said, look, I'm sorry, what else could you want me to say to you? So I said, please calm down, first of all, because I'd like to talk to you about this. And I said it was traumatizing and I was scared and my dog was scared. And again, he said, look, what more do you want me to say to you? And he was raising his voice. And I became a little nervous about the situation. Then he said, that's it. And he walked towards his trunk and he had a shovel in his hand. And I don't know what he was about to do, but I didn't want to stick around. So I said, I'm leaving. And I got in my car. And he said, good, go. Next time, send your husband over here. And so that's when I decided I better do something about this.
Well, first of all, I want to say I'm sorry for both the event with the dog as well as the interaction with the dog owner. We don't like to hear
Yeah, thank you.
those kinds of things happening. I know
It's
how
not the
scary.
dog's fault. I don't blame the dogs.
I get
I
that.
would not want anything to happen to the dogs, but I do think the owner is totally irresponsible.
Can I ask a question? When the Saint Bernard was going after your little one, was it baring its teeth? Was it growling? Was it looking aggressive?
It was looking aggressive, yes, and he was like trying very hard to get to my dog.
Okay.
And like I said, he bit the back, and the dog yelped, so I knew he got bit.
Okay.
He didn't show his teeth to me
Mhm.
as I was trying to swat it. And then when he finally stopped and I was able to yell at it to go home and call it a bad dog, it just decided to back off, like, I guess he must hear that.
Okay, thank
And
you.
then if you look at the complaint in the file just before that from the other gentleman, he indicates on 13th, as he's writing his complaint, the dogs are back at large again. I've had complaints up till Sunday was my last actual complaint of the dogs running at large.
Wow. Now, the owner does have a partial fence up.
Yes, I noticed
Obviously,
that.
he's not
The partial fence doesn't keep
going
anybody
to
in.
do much good. No.
Okay, Chris, do you have any other information for us?
That's my key evidence is that basically.
Okay, and your recommendation is that we,
We deem the dog dangerous and we apply conditions to these dogs and possible ownership of any future dogs that's coming on the property if we deem to. So conditions would be listed. I would ask to have a muzzle on the dogs, have the dogs secured in a fence yard. Have a signage put up indicating dangerous dogs. Everybody knows when they walk by, there's dangerous dogs in that property. I would ask for the owner to be around his dogs outside at all times if they're outside. You never know, the dogs could break a board or break loose again. If they're in public, they should be on a leash. And then the last one would be show proof of house insurance that covers up to $500,000 is liability.
okay? So that's your recommendation?
Yes.
And how long should, in your opinion, they have in order to meet those requirements?
Most of these should be met right away, to be in my opinion. He obviously can't build a fence right away, but he can secure his dog on a chain or walk it on a leash until he has a proper fence up. The muzzle, he can go buy that right away. Insurance is simply calling your insurance company and asking for that increase. Signage, so I would think once decision has been made, we're talking a day or two after that.
Okay, so secured in a fence yard and so I'm thinking about the wording of it.
Yeah.
Secured in a fence yard and until the time the fence can be built, placed on chains when they're outside.
That's exactly it. And you can put a condition on to when you want the fence finished by as well. At least to keep the dogs.
Can I just ask her?
I think the
Councilor Jarvis?
fence it's posted and it's all framed. He just needs to put the boards up.
He's got
So
the
this-
wood in his backyard too, so.
Yeah, so this isn't like he's gotta put in main post holes or anything like that.
No,
It's
he's-
just slapping on some boards.
that's what it looks like. There is a couple of sections behind his shed. I'm not sure he's gonna put a wall there or something. The dog
It
is
looks like
there.
it was an abandoned project.
That's, yeah, it's been like that, someone wondering if it was a summer issue or a spring or a fall issue, I don't know. But yeah, it shouldn't, we're not
It
talking.
wouldn't take long to finish is where I'm going with it.
No, I don't think it would.
Okay, Councillor Jenda?
So my understanding, your last communication with the property owner, he's indicated that he is fostering the dogs.
Yes, and they're gonna be home this week.
Okay, so I would like to see, the dogs have been deemed dangerous. I would like to see that he be required to provide us with the name of the organization that he's fostering for. And that, are we able to advise who's fostering them? So let's say I own a shelter and he's fostering dogs for me. Are we allowed to, is the town allowed to advise me that somebody who I am allowing foster my dogs has had now those dogs deemed as dangerous dogs?
So what, actually, yes, in the sense, once a dog is deemed dangerous,
Yeah.
the owner has to notify us when those dogs move the property and to where they're going to. And we have to contact that new municipality, let them know that we as Winnipeg Beach deem these dogs dangerous and they are not living within your community.
Okay, so if he is fostering the dogs, I would like to see the order to include that he is required to return the dogs from wherever they're being fostered from within 6 days. And then he has to advise us where they went, which will then enable us to allow them to know that those dogs have been deemed dangerous.
Exactly.
Okay.
Other questions from council? I just want to say, council has had opportunity to review this prior to this meeting. And I think that we're all in agreement that this is probably more of an owner issue than a dog issue.
I agree.
The only way that we can put any kind of restrictions or requirements in place is if we determine that the dogs are dangerous. And so I think in that regard, we need to take that step and determine them as dangerous dogs, only so that we can put the requirements in place. But I want to ensure that if the dogs, because we don't know which one it was, if the dogs are deemed dangerous and if he does not follow through on these requirements, that means that you will have to.
I will go impound them. I will probably get police to attend with me and we will seize the dogs from the property.
Okay, and once you do that, I do not want to see these dogs put down. I don't think anybody sitting at this table does, because I don't think this is a dog problem. And so I'm wondering if you can start doing some research for us, Chris, in terms of what our options are with that, if there are places that we can find to rehome these dogs, to give them to a shelter, a nice
I will
farm
definitely
somewhere.
have a behaviorist test done to them to ensure that these dogs aren't vicious. Have an expert kind of analyze the dogs, and then from there, usually they can move on to a rescue at that point. Most rescues, there is that liability at a rescue as well. If they give a dog to somebody that's not quite prepared for it and ends up being vicious, and their liability forms. But yeah, we can definitely start that process and do our best to find them an appropriate home. Kind of find how they do with cats and other animals, and then kind of find something that suits that.
Because I don't want to see these dogs being hurt or killed because we have an owner who doesn't know how to take care of them properly or is refusing to take care of them properly.
I agree.
Yeah. Other council in agreement with that?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm wondering, however, because they're at large all the time, I'm not sure, I mean, it can take somebody less than 24 hours to get a chain or a rope up. I'm not sure we should say give them 4 days or 6 days to contain these animals.
I would say within a day of us issuing him the resolution, he needs to show that those dogs are contained in his yard.
Absolutely.
Because I'm assuming he has a dog leash, so if he doesn't have a chain, he can walk the dogs and go to the bathroom.
Yeah, and it doesn't take much to go to a local store, get a chain and a clip for them.
No.
He's got 24 hours to do that, in my mind, unless council doesn't agree, but 24 hours to get them under control. And I'd like to give him a short window in terms of getting the fence up.
Yep.
if he's already got the posts in the ground, then that should not be a problem in terms of doing the building. It's supposed to be a warm weekend this weekend. How long should we give him to get the fence up?
10 days.
10 days?
That sounds fair.
Sure.
Rest of council?
Yeah, because then he's still got restriction of the dogs cannot be out without him attending to the dogs on leash,
That's right.
so.
And I also want to reiterate that the owner has to be outside with the dogs at all times.
The owner should always have care and control of his dogs, yeah. And
Right, so even if he's out there on a chain, even if the dogs are out there on chains or
He needs
leashes,
to be
the
out
owner has
there.
to be outside, which means if you get any more barking complaints,
that should stop the barking issues that you would
that
think.
should stop the barking issues. And if if the dogs are out there barking on their own, then he is in contravention of this, and then you'll be picking up the dogs. Is that
That's
correct?
correct. That's correct. Yeah. So the either leash, either chain or walking his dogs and being with his dogs at all times, if that's not followed within 24 hours of getting a copy resolution, I will then impound the animals at my first time convenience.
Councilor Jarvis?
The leash, if he's walking them, I think it states it has to be non-retractable and 6 feet
That's correct.
maximum.
Yeah.
So it's not like he can walk along with a chain. It has to-
No.
Yeah.
I would even question, based on his size, him walking these two dogs together.
No, I've
Wait,
seen him walk,
abs-
I've seen him walk.
Well, that's okay. And if he has care and control of that, then that would, if the dogs decide to bolt after one, would he be able to hold those
No.
dogs back? Then you may want to comply one dog at a time for a walk, I don't know.
What does the rest of council think?
I would walk both, one at a time. It's
Yeah,
fine by me.
I think so too.
Yeah,
And I think the walking the one at a time and all of these specific things we're saying, while some people might understand what care and control is, these very specific things need to be said, like walking one dog at a time.
Is there any other questions of council before we close public hearing? I would like to note that the person is not in attendance to,
Right, the owner of the dog is not here
to state.
to state their side of the story, although they were invited.
Along with the 3 other complainants, they were also all invited as well,
Okay.
and chose not to attend.
Okay, thank you. Let's close.
Whereas a dangerous dog hearing has been conducted with bylaw 13/2018, and whereas council has, wrong resolution,
Yep.
sorry. Be it hereby resolved that the business of the dangerous dog hearing is now completed and is now closed, and that council return to their regular order of business.
Need a mover, please? Councilor Kozlowski.
You go.
A seconder, please? Councilor Houle.
I'm getting tired.
Questions, comments? All in favor? Carried.
Okay, so decision of dangerous dog hearing. I do require a few clarifications, Chris, for the resolution. Are you with your recommendations under section 13.2?
That's it, yeah.
Are you, so you're referring to section C?
I believe that's what it was.
With
Yes.
Okay, with the added condition.
Yeah, 13.2, the decision of council, and every owner of the animal is declared dangerous and respect. And then basically, I believe all of those are good points to have.
Okay, so I understood when going through, I had identified section C, section D, and section F. Are we saying we are
I would also,
extending that, and section K? Is there additional?
I would add at the bottom, it says within 3 working days of selling or giving away, otherwise disposing of a dangerous animal. I don't have
Sorry.
that section in front of me, know what letter that is. It's near the bottom.
G?
G, yes, yeah. I would actually suggest all of them, we would want all of those sections involved in here.
Okay, so council, this is your resolution, is, if you may take a moment to look at section 13.2.
And then there was the added piece of must return the dogs to the
Should be.
facility or organization he's fostering for within 6 days.
But if we're going that route, then none of the other stuff is important.
But we don't know if that is in fact true.
So we
That's my
making him
concern.
return them, or are we not making him
No,
return them?
we're making him return them if they are in fact dogs he's fostering.
Okay.
What is that question is whether or not in fact he's fostering them, because based on the sum of the discussion that
We
Bev
don't know.
had and put in her statement, it did not sound like they were foster dogs at all. So we want them to be, if in fact they are foster dogs, and perhaps maybe then that's what it needs to say first, is that you have the care and control, all those things, and that you return them within 6 days if they are fostered dogs, and otherwise all the
Or
others.
then all those
Yeah.
conditions. So it's an either or situation.
Well, but it's not an either or, he still has to maintain care and control of them, he still has to have them on a leash until he
Until they're
returns
returned.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So why don't I run through as, just to be clear, under section 13.2 as section, so under 13.2A, in the event a dangerous animal dog, obtain a dangerous dog license for the dangerous dog and pay the required fees. Is that a condition council would like to attach?
Yes.
Okay. Cause the dangerous animal to be tattooed upon the ear with clearly identifiable information as set out by council, and provide a copy of such information to the pound keeper.
yes.
You're requiring that? Ensure the dangerous animal while on private property is kept securely. Yes, we identified C. We identified D in the event a dangerous animal permit the dog upon public property, muzzled, restrained by chain or leash, exceeding foot length, so we've identified that. In the event that a dangerous animal is other than a dog, permit the dangerous, okay, so that E is not applicable?
No.
So I don't want to just list it all. We identified F, in a conspicuous location, a warning, beware of dangerous dog. Section G, within 3 working days of selling, giving away, or otherwise disposing of the dangerous animal, provide the animal control officer with the name, address, and telephone number. We want that stipulation in there?
I say so.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. In the event that the dangerous animal is to be relocated to another municipality, provide written authorization from the receiving municipality acknowledging that we are accepting, that they are accepting of the dangerous animal within their community. So the owner is to get information, so, okay. Advise the animal control officer within 3 working days of the death of the animal.
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Advise the animal control officer if the dangerous animal has gone missing or is running at large, has bitten, worried, attacked person and animal.
Yep.
Okay, we identified K, the insurance, such other conditions. And the other conditions being, I'll be adding the fence in 10 days.
Yep.
And then
And until that time, has to be on a chain.
And we'll have to add, the owner has to be in the yard with the animal,
Present.
present at all times when the dog's out.
Right.
And then the returning to the foster. If they are foster dogs, returning them to the owner.
So we know too, so if it goes back to the foster, chances are that's in another RM. So we need to confirm that RM is allowing these dogs if we deem them dangerous.
Yeah, so this isn't an either or, all of those other things still have to be in place because we're giving them 6 days to return it.
Yes,
So you have to, so all of those other things are sort of in place, including advising us where the dog goes.
It states that in there. That we have to notify regardless, if you give it to somebody, you have to make them aware that it's been designated as a dangerous dog.
yes.
I'm just concerned that the reputation of being a dangerous dog is gonna follow these dogs, and I'm not sure if they're dangerous. So,
Farmers disregard that though.
I'm hoping that when we communicate with the other municipality, that we have the ability to say that we believe it to be an owner issue and not a dangerous dog issue.
As did the individual who
Yeah, we can definitely
had
advise on
had
the
the interaction
situation.
with
I
both
would
the
advise
dog
them
and
of
the owner.
that, because I don't want these dogs to be treated as dangerous dogs if they're not.
That's fair.
And they must be, if they are fostered, they must be returned to the organization in 6 days?
Do we want to give them that long?
Everything states in the thing is 3 days, yes.
3
Yeah,
days?
3 days.
3 days.
So I'm going to, actually, I'll just read that. Okay, whereas a dangerous dog hearing has been conducted in accordance with bylaw 13/2018, and whereas council has diligently reviewed all information presented, therefore be it resolved that council deem both dogs as dangerous, and further be it resolved that council order the following. Under section 13.2A, 13.2B, 13.2C, with the added condition a fence must be completed within 10 days, and that until such time the dogs must be chained while outside. Section 13.2D, section 13.2F, 13.2G, 13.2H, 13.2J, 13.2I, 13.2K, and 13.2J, the additional orders being: the owner must be present with the animals while outside at all times, and additional condition that if the dogs are being fostered, they must be returned to the organization within 3 days.
We talked about walking one dog at a time.
Oh, and the added 13.2J added condition, walking one dog at a time. For ever. And the dog, okay, the owner will only, okay, so I will change that. The owner
Yeah,
will only permit one dog at a time being walked in public access. Public, being walked.
They want. Councillor Jarvis?
is the added insurance, because it's deemed a date, is that included with the
It's under
license?
Is that okay?
It's in the licensing, right?
That's under section K.
Okay. Okay, I just wanna make sure.
Sorry, and we just said the owner walking one dog at a time.
Mhm.
And this might sound like I'm being nitpicking, but if they have a friend that wants to walk the other dog with them at the same time, we don't want the two dogs out together? Or is it that we want one person having care and control of one dog at a time?
Yeah.
So that,
Okay.
yeah, so,
I don't have a
yeah.
problem
Added
with that.
condition.
I agree with that.
That only one
So dogs should be
Dog
walked
per
with somebody that is able to handle and control the animal.
Adult
with one adult
per dog.
who is able to control the animal at one time. Okay. Mover?
Anything else? All in favor?
No,
No.
a
A
mover?
mover, please. Councillor Jarvis. Seconder, please. Councillor Gendron. All in favor? Any further discussion? No? All in favor? Carried. I'd like to thank you for your time and work on this, Chris, and I would like to thank you folks very, very much for coming in and letting us know about this. We often have complaints or concerns about dogs in our community, but it's almost impossible to do anything about it if we don't have people coming forward. I know it was probably hard for you to do. Thanks for taking the time.
I appreciate the time that was taken and the seriousness that you take. I don't want the dogs to be hurt, but I do want them to be restrained or fixed somehow, that they don't do this to anybody else.
Yeah, and I think we're all on the same page with that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, so thanks for your time and attention to this.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you all.
Be it hereby resolved that council adjourns the March 27, 2024 regular meeting at 4:36 PM.
You're gonna move it, please? Mr. Kozlowski. Can I get a seconder, please? Councillor Cool. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Yeah,
Bye, guys.
thanks, everybody. Bye,
Say
Beth.
hi to Albert, please.
We're good. Hi, Jane. Thank you very much, Chris.